All right. I think we're live. Let's make sure you can hear me. I can hear me. This is a great place for Outback Steakhouse or a Ford F-150. All right. Should be able to hear. Eli has my phone, so I can't use that one. I know. Yeah, that's fine. I might. I don't think he has anything new this weekend. It's the weekend. He doesn't have any new episodes out on the weekends usually. No, he runs it like a regular 9 to 5 job. He's a comical com commenter, I guess you could say. We have a new verse of the day too. Second Samuel 22 verses 5 through 15. So read that one real quick. New for you, new for me. I'm just moving on through the Bible. Hopefully I'll finish it by I think September is my goal. That would be a year about. So moving through it pretty quick. But I want to take my time and actually take it in as well. So trying to slow down a little bit with it. Instead of, rushing through and trying to finish reading it. Yeah. This goes over there. Rumble chat, you're here. Okay. So it is verse 5 through 15, 2 Samuel chapter 22. For the waves of death encompassed me, the torrents of destruction assailed me. The cord of Sheol entangled me, the snares of death confronted me. In my distress I called upon the Lord. To my God I called. From his temple he heard my voice, and my cry came to his ear. Then the earth reeled and rocked, the foundation of the heavens trembled and quaked, because he was angry. Smoke went up from his nostrils and devouring fire from his mouth. Glowing coals flamed forth from him. He bowed the heavens, or bowed the heavens, I think is what it is, and came down. Thick darkness was under his feet. He rode on a cherubim and flew. He was seen on the wings of the wind. He made darkness around him his canopy. Thick clouds, a gathering of water. Out of the brightness before him coals of fire flamed forth. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice, and he sent out arrows and scattered them, lightning and routed them. And then it continues into verse 16. Then the channels of the sea were seen, the foundations of the world were laid bare, at the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. He sent from on high, he took me. He drew me out of many waters. He rescued me from my strong enemy, from those who hated me, for they were too mighty for me. They confronted me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my support. He brought me out into a broad place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. The Lord dealt with me according to my righteousness. According to the cleanness of my hands, he rewarded me. For I have kept the way of the Lord, and have not wickedly departed from my God. For all his rules were before me, and from his statutes I did not turn aside. I was blameless before him, and I kept myself from guilt. And the Lord has rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness in his sight. With the merciful, you show yourself merciful. With the blameless man, you show yourself blameless. With the purified, you deal purely, and with the crooked, you make yourself seem torturous. You have a humble people, but your eyes are on the haughty to bring them down. For you are my lamp, O Lord, and my God lightens my darkness. For by you I can run against the troop, and by my God I can leap over a wall. This God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord proves true. He is a shield for all those who take refuge in him. For who is God but the Lord, and who is a rock except our God? This God is my strong refuge, and has my way blameless, has made my way blameless. He made my feet like the feet of a deer, and set me secure on the heights. He trained my hands for war, so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze. You have given me the shield of your salvation, and your gentleness made me great. You gave a wide place for my steps under me, and my feet did not slip. I pursued my enemies and destroyed them, and did not turn back until they were consumed. I consumed them, I thrust them through, so that they did not rise. They fell under my feet, for you equipped me with the strength for the battle. You made those who rise against me sink under me. You made my enemies turn their backs to me, those who hated me, and I destroyed them. They looked, but there was none to save. They cried to the Lord, but he did not answer them. I beat them fine as the dust of the earth, and crushed them and stamped them down like the mire of the streets. You delivered me from strife with my people. You kept me as the head of the nations. People whom I had not known served me. Foreigners came cringing to me. As soon as they heard of me, they obeyed me. Foreigners lost heart and came trembling out of their fortresses. The Lord lives, and blessed be my rock, and exalted be my God, the rock of my salvation, the God who gave me vengeance and brought down peoples under me, who brought me out from my enemies. You exalted me above those who rose against me and delivered me from men of violence. For this I will praise you, O Lord, among the nations, and sing praises to your name. Great salvation he brings to his king, and shows steadfast love to his anointed, to David and his offspring forever. That's the end of the chapter. What, baby girl? Did you love it? Did you like hearing me talk? Okay, we'll save for the next one. We're on chapter 23 now. Move to track. Okay, that can close. I'm watching Zach right now. Asmongold. Let's see if it's this idiot. Yeah. Woo-hoo. Getting made fun of because I'm a Christian. Am I a KKK affiliate? No. You just think everybody's racist because you're a permanent victim. He's just somebody that needs to be heard. Always keeps moving the goalpost. The whole conversation in this started off as, usually people are very tribal and they stick to their people. But it's like some racial groups stick together for the most part. That's why you have Chinatown in New York. You have the Jewish district. You have Italian districts where the Italians moved in. You have mostly German areas. You have usually if you're from an area in Europe, you stay in those areas. Same with Africans. The Somalians all stick together in Minnesota, which I'm surprised that they even go out there. But they do. But unfortunately today we have some crazy stuff going on in Mexico. It's It's the cartel. I forget which cartel it is. I have some saved stuff, but I probably can't actually show that here, so I saved. Yeah, that's your Starmer. This isn't too bad. This is the cartel and the military, federal troops fighting. I think that's the military there. As they wouldn't be wearing high vis vests if it was the cartel, I'm sure. Just crazy. Looks like there's one injured. They're lighting markets on fire. This is the units that they're sending out. This is shocking images. Yeah, I can't show past that, so we'll go back to 2Cs. So yeah, they're really just destroying the area in Mexico that they control. There's fires all over the place. They're setting cars on fire. They're just causing as much chaos as they can. They're literally being terrorists right now. It's crazy. I even saw a picture here. I'll pull it off screen. Let's see if I can find that picture with. I might be AI, but I'm not sure. Super the troops. This was an interesting video. It's got no sound, but that looks like a National Guard truck. And then these look like cartel vehicles. They usually have the nicer like Ford 250s, 150s, and this looks like Avalanche almost. Yeesh. I think there's an armor. Yeah, you see the armored car coming through. I don't know if that's cartel or if that's the military. I think that's cartel actually. Oh no, not armored guard. That's it's an F-150. There's the armored vehicle coming through, plowing right through the National Guard vehicle. I do think that's cartel. Craziness for sure. Okay, pull this off screen again. Make sure there's not anything crazy. There's that. There's that. Maybe I scroll past it. But here's more gunfights. So much ammo being used. craziness, all chaos. That's about all that's been shown there. And then I think, yeah, these are more fires. Black smoke, plumes coming up. Everything's burning. Everything they can burn. And this is from the airport, I believe. Yeah. They're taking over the airport. Pretty sure I saw that cartel burning plane. I got this cool little game that plays. Yeah, there it is. I can't tell. This might be AI. BBC, another Almatros was killed by Mexicans in my reward. Really? That's fine. Panic. Panic and craziness going on. Yeah, unfortunate. All for killing the leader of this cartel. Elemencho. And people on the plane hiding. They're shooting over the wall. Am I really shooting a 50 cal at a plane? Holy. Smooth landing there. That's pretty cool. CJNG cartel. That's what it is. Sheesh. Just crazy. That's the one that made the emergency landing then, huh? So it wasn't just a tactical landing, it was an emergency landing. I thought so.
Soy el dueño del palenque, 4 letras van al frente. Soy del mero Michoacán, donde es la tierra caliente.
Oh, what's up with the music? Helicopter got shut down? Oh, jeez. Yeah, it only will get worse. Jeez. Let's see if any news is on YouTube about it. Just youtube.com, please. Hey, it's me. Let's see, the Enforcer. Are they live still?
But this is a fairly large grouping of the Mexican army here, and this is the Mexican army, by the way, folks. You can
So
tell because they're
there's
dressed in green.
Mexican
Like in
army on the
Mexico, the
ground.
uniform policies are pretty easy to follow. Cartel usually wears whatever, or they wear black. The Army wears green. The National Guard wears white, generally. And then also any other armed forces, they generally are also wearing green as well. Fairly easy sort of a symbology system with the uniforms to follow. So this is the Mexican Army that we're seeing in the
Well, they
streets
don't
right
have too
here.
much to worry
And
about.
I mean, this
or to
is just wild stuff,
deal
folks.
with.
You know, they went from those it was like riots and protests that they were having in the country in places like Mexico City. I think that was like 2 weeks ago or 3
Yeah,
weeks
they were
ago or
3
so.
weeks
And
ago,
now it's a
but
cartel war, and they're literally having the army out in the streets. It's basically like a civil war is happening down
yeah,
there right now.
seriously is.
But still, with that, I hope that does address that new development well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And we also have a super chat from none other than Wubba, who put in a 20. And thank you very much, Wubba, as well. He said, it's fine. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Is it? Like, is it? Are you sure? I do thank you massively for the support of this channel to keep it running. And I'd have to say, it is generally, it's shaky down there right now. I would like to think that it's going to be fine, because if it's not, then whatever happens next is going to be worse. But it also is not looking that fine. You know what I mean? Like, so a
Yeah,
huge thanks to you for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, by the way,
Thank you,
something I just thought about.
Justin.
You know, I mentioned we're on the eve of the start of the Iran war
Say
with the U.S.
Justin.
strikes that they're going to be conducting on Iran. There has been allegations, and we have not been able to prove this, or we have not gotten any real, concrete evidence of it, but there's been allegations that some Iranian proxy
Thank you for
forces
the
have been
follow.
trying
It
to
is
flood into
very-
Mexico to get
very
close to the U.S.
appreciated.
border to conduct, bad things. That's a rumor out there that's been going around. So maybe, possibly, if we're trying to come up with a reason why the U.S. might have put pressure on Mexico to try to capture El Mencho at the final hour before the Iran war starts, maybe it's because they need to be able to get that under control before the strikes start taking place on Iran, so that way we can strike into Mexico in case we know those forces, if they are there, are going to try to carry out some type of bad acts against the United States, possibly. So that's kind of stretching it, and it's kind of going out on a limb with speculation because we don't know that for a fact. But I'm trying to find some reason why the U.S. would want to push something like this at such an inconvenient time, considering the war is like right on the horizon.
I would say that that's probably, it might be a reason. That might be the case. But we'll have to see. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And getting into our next one here, this one goes to Adopt a Cat, who puts in a 20. And thank you very much for that support. They said, new subscriber, and thank you for the coverage.
And thank you so much for the support, and thank you for being a new subscriber. We're glad to have you. We've actually gotten about 2,000 subscribers or so over the course of the stream. Actually, scratch that, it's now 2.1. But we've gotten about 2.1 thousand subscribers over the course of the stream, and I've always got to say that we're entirely honored and greatly appreciative that so many people are joining our channel and just finding it now and are getting their news from this channel. So humongous thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one is going to go to none other than, let me scroll back up to it. This one goes to Dennis, who puts in a 20. And thank you, Dennis, for that support. He said, thank you, enforcers, for the amazing news coverage, as always.
And thank you so much for the support, and thank you for enjoying our news coverage. We try our hardest. All the way from the beautiful lands of the Salt Lake City, we try our hardest to be able to make sure that we can get the news out to all of y'all about what's going on each and every single day. And a humongous thanks to you for supporting this channel and helping us to do this, because if it wasn't for viewer support, none of this would be possible. This stream runs ad-free and sponsor-free. We don't make a single dime or a cent running the show. The only way we make a living and we're able to make any money doing this and do this as our job is through viewer support like yours. And we're massively appreciative and thankful for folks like you, because not only do you get to support the channel because you think it's great work, you're actually funding our work to continue well on into the future. So humongous thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. Also, by the way, let's quickly address the poll that's currently running. I almost forgot about it. The question on the poll says, will the Mexican government request U.S. military intervention to deal with this cartel uprising? 41% said yes, U.S. involvement is imminent, while 33% said no, Mexico will not request help, and 14% said, the U.S. will force their involvement. So technically speaking, the U.S. is already involved in this because they provided intelligence to the Mexican Special Forces to carry out the raid, and also apparently put pressure on the Mexican government to actually pull this off. So they're involved already in a sort of indirect way. So is the Mexican government now going to panic and say, hey, come help us, USA, we're getting overrun by the cartels? I would say that it's a 50-50 chance, actually. There's not an option for that, of course, in the poll, because I can only put 4 options in it, but I would say it's a 50-50 chance. The cartels are armed well enough to actually pose a threat to the sovereignty of Mexico. They are that big of a threat. So we'll have to wait and see if they keep escalating, or maybe the Mexican security forces are able to kind of intimidate them back into compliance, at least somewhat. We have to wait and see where that's going to go. So I'm sort of 50-50. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say that I'm also 50-50, because it could go either way. We could see that the U.S. has to get involved, or that we might not get involved, because it really depends more so on the request of the Mexican government for us to get involved in any major way. Otherwise, things could get even worse in a whole bunch of other ways. So we'll have to generally see. But I do hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion, on the poll. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to Yenya Tolls. And thank you very much, Yenya, for that $20 support. And we appreciate that very, very much. And he was saying there was a certain statement that might have been made out there that it was satire. He said it was just satire. But thank you very much, Yenya, for that support. And we do appreciate that. And Enforcer, what say you?
And thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And I gotta say that it's a wonderful and incredible thing to know that folks like you, Yin Yin Tolls, are helping this channel to keep rolling while we're covering this big news. A huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that this addressed that well. And also, before we move on to the next one,
Fine. It's all fine. Yeah. Cartels. Causing issues like always. I wanted to see what Tusi, or not Tusi, Matt Morris had to say. Oh, this was an hour.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Happy Sunday morning. My name is Matt Morris. We are live right now on YouTube as well as on Rumble at Matt Morris TV. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about today. We have yet another failed assassination attempt against President Trump taking place very early this morning at around 1:30 a.m. East Coast time. This place once again similarly taking place at Mar-a-Lago. The gunman is dead. We're going to break down all of the details. Or the alleged gunman, the attempted gunman. That's what I want to say. He was not successful this time. Thank God for that. We also have some massive updates pertaining to the Save America.
Trump just made the call. What's the call? Taking Iran?
Ladies and gentlemen, today we have some massive information pertaining to the Save America Act and when exactly we can expect to see this act get brought down onto the Senate floor. So for a quick update to kick this off, first, take a listen to what Republican Senator Mike Lee had to say about where we currently stand.
I believe Senator Thune is going to bring it forward. I believe he's going to allow us to get a vote. What remains to be seen is exactly what procedure we will use. But I hope in that process, I'll continue to make the case to him and to my other colleagues
Craig.
that filibustering senators should
appreciated.
be required to speak. If they don't
Yeah.
want this law, let them explain that at length to the American people until they are no longer able to do so.
So should we not expect a talking filibuster until the Department of Homeland Security reopens?
Good question.
That's my expectation. It's hard to imagine a scenario in which we would begin a process, particularly one that might involve, and I hope will involve, a talking filibuster. We've got to get DHS funded first.
Okay.
Now, as many of you know, we are currently on
Labs. Sorry, I just set up these notifications and they're kind of new. Alert box. Kick. Gonna extend it back out. 15 seconds. Delay like 2 seconds. Follow 15 seconds. Works. 2 second delay. Got the monks going. Yeah, that should work. That'll work. That'll do, pig. That'll do. All right, let's see what Matt's got to say.
day number 8 of the ongoing Democrat DHS shutdown, and that is what it is. It is the Democrat DHS shutdown,
It has
which
been
began on
every time
February
this year.
14th, 8 days ago. As you might expect, passing this new DHS funding bill through the Senate, it's already passed through the House, to reopen the DHS is going to require 60 votes in the Senate. And the Democrats are refusing to budge. Right now, I believe this DHS funding bill has 52 votes. Almost all of the Democrats, actually, literally all of the Senate Democrats are refusing to vote for this. That
Except
said,
for
there
Fetterman.
is a way to circumvent this 60 vote rule, this 60 vote threshold, to reopen the DHS, at which point then we can talk about passing the Save America Act. And we're going to talk about what that
Massey,
method
that's a
is
rhino.
to circumvent the Democrats here and cut them out of the picture. But first, we have another statement here on Fox News this morning from Republican Senator Mike Lee. So take a listen to this first, and then we're going to talk about what the plan is going forward to get out of this.
Look, we absolutely need the Save America Act. 85 to 90% of Americans agree that people ought to
Definitely need
have
voter
to
ID.
establish that they're citizens to vote in
Pretty
U.S.
easy
elections.
to get your birth
And they should have to
certificate.
show up on polling
And Social
day
Security
with a
card
photo
and
ID.
whatnot.
I also believe that with a bill this popular, we really owe it to the American people when we consider it to make any senators wishing to filibuster to actually speak. They shouldn't be able to filibuster while they're napping. They shouldn't be able to filibuster
I don't
while they're
like
at the
that
Munich
whole
Security
filibuster.
Conference.
It's zombie
Filibuster
filibuster is
in
what
this
they call it.
circumstance should require them to go to the Senate floor, seek recognition, and start speaking.
Yep.
Folks, with this 60
And then when
vote
they
zombie
cease-
filibuster, as he just said, we've got Democrat senators who are literally engaging in Senate filibusters whilst not even being in the country, We've got Democrat senators filibustering in Washington, D.C. on the Senate floor while they are in Munich, halfway across the world. Just to put into perspective how insane our current Senate dynamic is. It is absolutely nuts.
Until they are no longer able. That's how we ought to get this thing passed, and I think we need to. As far as the timing of it, that's going to be complicated a little bit by the fact that Democrats shut down the Department of Homeland Security and then left for the Munich Security Conference. We'll have to deal with that, I suspect, before we turn to the Save America Act, but that's why we've got to get it done fast.
So are you saying that you will be unable to do a talking filibuster this week because the Department of Homeland Security is still shut down?
Yeah, it's difficult to imagine a scenario in which the Senate proceeds to a measure intending and hoping, as I hope it will, to enforce the talking filibuster, meaning to require any senator wishing to filibuster to speak.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Just to put a nice bow on top of this, what we are hearing right now is that there will not be a vote in the Senate to push through the Save America Act. In fact, there won't even be a talking filibuster before a 51 vote to pass the Save America Act until the DHS has been reopened. The problem, as we said a moment ago, you've got to get over the 60 vote zombie filibuster threshold in order to pass this DHS funding bill, and the Democrats are not budging. However, as I said a moment ago, there is one way to circumvent the Democrats, to bypass this 60 vote threshold in the Senate, to cut the Democrats out of the DHS picture altogether, reopen the DHS with or without them. And that method is another talking filibuster. Right now, if Senate Leader John Thune says, you know what, we are going to have a talking filibuster in order to bring this DHS funding bill to the floor, we're going to force the Democrats to talk until they tire themselves out. And there's only a maximum amount of time. They can't talk forever. They've only got so much time to really talk about this on the floor. They tire themselves out. That's the end of the talking filibuster. And then we have an actual vote to pass the DHS funding bill. It would pass because we have the votes, at which point the DHS is back open. Then we could have another talking filibuster, this time pertaining to the Save America Act. Let the Democrats tire themselves out again after a second talking filibuster. Then we have an actual legitimate vote for the Save America Act. We've got the votes for that too. We passed that and we're as good as golden. So we don't have to sit here and just do nothing because we don't have the Democrats on our side for the DHS bill or the Save America Act. We can actually cut them out by having talking filibuster after talking filibuster. It's annoying. It's cumbersome. It's unfortunate. And right now, I'll tell you what, the Democrats are counting on us not doing that. But just let the record show we totally can. Let's talk about why this is so important.
I'm tired of hearing about these cherry-picked polls that say Republicans are down. We've got more young people. We've got all kinds of people turning out. When you talk about that Save America Act, the senators, whether they're Republican or Democrat, do not need to listen to me. Listen to the American people. The American citizen believes, whether it's a Republican, Democrat, or other. In fact, Democrats, more than 70% of them agree that showing proof of citizenship to register to vote and then showing a photo ID when you present yourself to cast a ballot is a reasonable requirement. This is something that the American people want. This is something that's long overdue. And if you want to oppose this, well, then I would argue you're in favor of voter fraud. You're in favor of something less than an open and honest and fair election. Its time has come. The Senate needs to pass the Save America Act and get it to the president's desk as soon as possible.
Make it happen at all costs. 100%. And you know what? If God forbid the Save America Act does not pass, and I really hope it will, I believe it will. And here in this community, me, that's you guys, the Morris Force, we have done every single thing that we can do. We've called time and time again. We're calling Thune, we're calling McConnell, we're calling all of them. We've done what we can do. Now it's time for our elected representatives in the Senate to do what they can do, namely John Thune. If John Thune does not push this thing over the finish line, he deserves to be primaried. He deserves to be replaced with a Republican that is actually willing to put America first.
Republican.
I'm not saying I'm not
going
going to vote or I'm going to vote for a
primary.
Democrat. No, I'm going to vote harder for a
Senators.
different Republican to
Yeah.
replace him on our side that
A lot
actually
more.
will do his job, that actually will put America first. Now, we heard from Elon Musk earlier today. Elon Musk is not so optimistic right now. Breaking news. Elon Musk is now saying that Senate Leader John Thune will not be able to pass the Save America Act and secure our elections. Elon Musk this morning on Twitter, on X, he said he can't get it done. Now, if I had to guess what Elon Musk is doing here, I would bet, keep in mind, this is world's richest man. World's richest man. He's also donated hundreds of millions of dollars to Trump and various other congressional Republicans. Massive Republican financier at this point. A lot of money,
Yeah.
and money talks. I think that what Elon
Definitely
Musk is doing is putting public pressure. Elon Musk is contributing to the pressure campaign. We got presidential pressure, us, we the people, we are chiming in, maximum pressure. And I think Elon Musk is getting involved right now too. He's saying, listen, you don't have what it takes to get it done. You're not going to get it done. You're too much of a loser, Thune. You're not going to get it done.
I mean, it's kind of true. I think Thune is.
Hoping perhaps
Is that
that will sort of light a fire under Thune's backside here and push him, give him a little bit of a push. Get it done. You're not going to get it done. You don't have what it takes. Maybe Thune is going to respond to this. Now, Elon Musk, I saw this one too. There's a post going viral right now. It says, remove John Thune should trend on Twitter every single day until he floors the Save America Act. He hasn't even tried. So now people out here, this is going viral. We're calling for hashtag remove John Thune.
Yeah.
Elon Musk responded, he needs to push much harder. It is the only thing that matters. Elon Musk, of course, is absolutely right. Now, there's something I want to show you here. This is one of our favorites. Republican House Representative Tim Burchett earlier today absolutely blasted Bernie Sanders, Democrat senator, technically independent senator. He's a Democrat. After Bernie Sanders earlier today tried to say that getting a birth certificate to vote is impossible and is an act of discrimination. Having a birth certificate, showing ID, proving you're a citizen, well, it's discriminatory.
Very easy,
well,
actually.
Burchett absolutely cooked Bernie Sanders this morning. Take a listen, dadgummit.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. I woke up this morning perplexed that one of our U.S. senators doesn't know how to get his own birth certificate. Bernie Sanders, I think he represents Vermont, but he was born in New York State, I think in 1941. So I just typed in my little cell phone here in the Google search. And if you don't know the Google search, Bernie, that's Google. If you'll click it and then type in, after you get it up at the top, how to get a birth certificate in New York.
Yeah.
And guess what? It popped right up.
Really?
The Vital Records Department. And then you just scroll down and it says birth certificate, oddly enough.
Oh.
Crazy talk. And then I clicked on that and it went through what you need to do. And then you can even use your credit card, which I'm sure you as a capitalist will have a credit card. Or if you don't, I'm sure one of your many staffers will have that. And all you got to do is fill it out. And dadgum, guess what? They'll mail it to you, Bernie.
Dadgum. Listen, I'm telling you, I'll pause real
like
quick.
this
If
guy.
every single one of our congressional representatives in the House and the Senate or otherwise was like Tim Burchett, just a good old American boy, just a good old boy, we wouldn't have any of these problems. If we had 100 Burchetts in the Senate, would we have this problem? No, I don't think so.
It's crazy talk. Or I think they can even send one to you online. I mean, it's just incredible. I was perplexed on this whole issue that we were causing great consternation on you. And now I understand the governor of California as well. So I would encourage you to do that, Bernie.
He's an
if
idiot
you don't
in
know
California,
how to
that's
do
why.
that, ask one of your many staffers. I'm sure they will assist you. It's a very simple process, Senator. And there's no reason that you don't get in line with about 85% of your constituents that think you, in fact, should be an American citizen to vote and show proof of that with a birth certificate. Oddly enough, it's the same dadgum birth certificate that if you were a young man you would have to show if you were going to play Little League Baseball.
Oh,
it's crazy. And then what do you got to do when you go vote? Show your photo, your photo ID, your driver's license. And if you don't have a driver's license, most states will provide you with a photo ID.
Yeah, you can
for
just
free.
get a regular photo
It's
ID.
crazy. It's crazy. So, Bernie, I would encourage you to do that, and I'm sorry you're so perplexed on this issue. Thank y'all for sitting here.
You know, to be fair here, I think that Bernie Sanders is probably perplexed about many issues. I think most issues Bernie
He
Sanders
hasn't changed his
probably
speech for
perplexed
40
about.
years.
I think he doesn't really
Same
have a clue
speech
what's
about
going
the
on these days.
oligarchy
Maybe
and all that other
maybe he
crap.
never had a clue. He probably never had a clue about a damn thing. Now, here's what I'll tell you. Okay, let's get back to John Thune. Let's talk about where we stand with the Save America Act in order to push this thing across the finish line. We keep hearing about these problems, right? Oh, we have the 60-vote zombie filibuster. We've got the DHS. The DHS is closed. We've got to reopen it. We can't pass the Save America Act while the DHS is shut down. We got to do that first. We hear about the, chairman of the Senate Rules Committee, a guy named Mitch McConnell. He doesn't want to bring the bill to the floor. We got to do something about that. Now, curiously, literally every single problem that we are hearing about in the Senate that is preventing us from pushing the Save America Act forward, all of these problems actually have the very same solution. And the same solution is Senate Majority Leader Thune growing a spine, getting a spine in his back, and pushing forward a series of talking filibusters, make the Democrats defend all of these radical anti-American positions that they have, make them speak rather than taking naps all day or phoning in from Munich. Bring them to the floor, talking filibuster. We can talk our way through this. Ultimately, we will have a vote and we will get the Save America Act passed. All that we have to have happen here is John Thune has got to grow a spine.
Still going.
Blaze Gamer, who said another conflict because the world needed more and business is booming and you boys must be busy. Oh yeah, we're definitely busy. That's for sure. Busy 24/7 these days. And people don't understand. Like when you cover news like we're covering from so many different regions, this is not like something you can do to just sit back and like just turn your mind off and like take a rest. You have to stay on this 24/7 because if you don't, you get behind or you'll miss something and then you won't be on top of it. So we're doing the job of a news network, but we're only two people. We don't have a whole team of people. It's just us two, and that's it. So it's a 24/7 thing. At least right now it is. But Enforcer, what say you?
Yeah, it's a 24/7 thing. It's honestly a little bit tiresome because we miss a single hour of something that goes on in the world. The story no longer makes any sense because we missed a key action that happened that led to another reaction. And so it is something else. I mean, right now we are covering and watching the developments that are going on in between the United States and Europe over their endless spats that are going on over Greenland and other situations. We're now covering the cartel war. We're also covering the U.S. possibly bombing Mexico. Then we're covering the U.S. blockading Cuba and the U.S.'s fun times or whatever we want to call it in Venezuela. We're also watching the U.S. getting ready to bomb Iran. We're then watching China preparing to invade Taiwan and also getting spats with the Japanese. We're watching the North Koreans. We're watching the Thai and the Cambodians, the Indians and the Pakistanis and the Afghans, the Iranians, and everybody else in the region. And then the Russians and the
He needs to go. Mitch McConnell needs to go. And Dianne Feinstein, yeah, she was how old? Serving while her daughter was power of attorney over her personal affairs and then died in office. Pure disgrace and lust for power, yeah. Yeah, Thune can only drool. Or not Thune, but Mitch McConnell. Yeah, I was about to say, he didn't fall this year, did he? Exclusive folks.
in the words of that that song, I forgot the name of the guy who sang it, but it's just the two of us, and we have to make all of that happen. We can make it if we try, just the two of us. But still, a big thanks to you once again for support and help with the show to keep it running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and jumping into our next super chat, this one goes to Aussie Chopper, who said, "Greetings, gentlemen. I'm at 36,000 feet on a certain flight, bound from a certain place." They said, "Great coverage as always, and spare a thought for the next guy next to me, 7 feet tall and like a tarantula in a jar."
And I thank you so much for the support. I hope you're having a comfortable time on that flight. Nice to know that you're safe up there. And also, I feel sorry for the tall who have to sit in economy, because economy is a tough place to be when you're tall. I'm Matthew and me are 6'2" or so. We have a tough time in economy. Like, it's like, damn, this is tight. Anyways, but huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that is addressed that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have a $14 support from Double Tap Ranger Outdoors, and thank you very much for that support as well. He said, "Can you talk about the U.S. sending a hospital ship to Greenland?"
Yeah, we heard that was apparently going to be happening today. We don't know why. Like, it was just something that was announced, and that was that. So I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep them running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, by the way, I think they might have rejected that. Let me double check real quick. Greenland hospital ship. Let me do a quick OSINT look. Let's see here. So, I had heard a rumor that Greenland had rejected it, but I can't find that right off the bat. So we'll have to see here. I know that both of those hospital ships are currently in port in Mobile, Alabama, which is our former state of residence, but they're apparently still there from the sounds of it. So I'll have to wait and see if it's actually getting deployed or not. But jumping into our next one, this one goes to none other than the Hokey Redneck. And thank you very much, Hokey, for the second or third support of the night. He said, Matt and Andrew, tell the folks about the stuff that you have to watch that you can't post, stuff that you can't unsee. Finding the footage sometimes sucks. And it is true. We see a lot of uncensored footage that we do not show on the air. For number one, it's against YouTube guidelines to do that, so we don't do it for that reason. And number two, even if we could, we don't want to traumatize all of our audience, because it's graphic footage to the point where people really should not watch it. People are not meant to see atrocities like that. So we try to avoid it, but sometimes you accidentally stumble across it, you realize it, and then you're like, oh, dang, you're like, what to do away with that. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to thank you massively for the support, Hokey Redneck. And that is true. There's a lot of videos, folks, that we never get to publish and y'all never get to see because they're just too graphic in nature. And we try and show y'all as much as we can within practicality, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff really sticks with you once you see it. And therefore, I don't really recommend a lot of people going out of their way to see it. There's a morbid curiosity inherent within everyone. Like, someone wants to see someone get turned into like a tomato puree. Like, I think everyone wants to at some point, because you're not because you want to see someone suffer, but it's like, what does that look like? But once you see it, you really can't unsee it. And not that we want to see that. It's our line of work that we kind of have to go and look at that stuff. And after a while looking at it, you're like, damn, that's rough. I'll be entirely frank, though.
I mean, I guess
over the past 4 years of doing this, I've gotten incredibly numb to
happened on
most
9/11,
and it hardly even
jump up
phases
from the
me at all.
buildings
It's like,
and
oh,
stuff.
there's a guy torn in two or
Yeah,
something.
we're kind of numb
that's
towards
unfortunate.
that-
But you know, if you watch it enough,
in a way.
it's just it's really hard to be
Inside the
phased
little
by it
cameraman
after
outside.
years.
I wanted
But
to
I remember when I was
talk
originally
about
looking at stuff, it would
that.
be stomach churning, it would be sickening, and I'd be like, oh my god, this is terrible.
We'll go to that.
Sure. I just think it's you're either
Raymond
think you can
Ibrahim, he's an
denounce political
historian,
violence,
mostly dealing with
especially, like,
Islam
really
and
nasty political violence,
and
like shooting
Christianity.
someone.
He's a Coptic Christian
well,
from
calling for
Egypt.
that political violence against your people you judge to be political enemies.
Okay, so I just want to get this in a sentence. So your problem with what I was saying is you don't think I can denounce the murder of Charlie Kirk and advocate for shooting people who come to a country illegally. Did I get that right?
Because, yes, that's right. Because I think laws are, inherently malleable.
Okay.
I mean, at what?
All right. Let's stop right there. Laws are inherently malleable. All right. Actually, let's build up to that. The first thing that he was saying that caught my eye and caught my ear, as I'm sure it did you, is the analogy that he keeps trying to give. Okay, because early on in the interview, I think Peter mentioned the killing of Charlie Kirk, which everyone, of course, condemns. It's a political murder.
Condemn,
and what
but
he's
the left
saying
doesn't.
is,
The left celebrates it.
and the reason, if you didn't see it, the reason he stormed out originally, what this is all about is at one point, Peter says, I think I played it in the very intro. Peter said, I know no one wants to hear this, but it's going to get to a point where people have to be shot. if they are illegally crossing. So this is the topic. And our woke cameraman is basically saying that these are synonymous. Okay, shooting an illegal alien who is, crossing the border illegally, knowingly, is the same as shooting and killing some guy because he's just speaking his mind.
Nowhere near.
Okay, so now let's unpack this, because I think this is very, very important, and I can see how people would conflate the two. All right, so shooting Charlie Kirk.
Love that people think illegal immigrants are only black and brown people. They're not. They're Chinese, they're Europeans, there's Russians, there's all kinds of illegal aliens that come into the country, illegal immigrants. But it's always conflated to be just black and brown people, and it's not. It's actually really racist of the left to think of it that way.
Now let's look at what happens when, that's not what the U.S. does, but let's say it did. A lot of countries do and have done that, and which is to shoot people who illegally cross. So what's happening in that context is this. You have a nation. It's a sovereign nation, and it's governed and ruled by and on behalf of and for the people, or it was originally. Okay, and actually in this case, protecting its borders and its sovereignty, that does directly benefit the people of everyone.
Yes.
Okay, so you have borders. Every country has borders. This isn't a Western or European or white thing. It's a normal thing. Okay, it's not even a modern thing. Historically, every kingdom has borders. Okay, and they zealously protect their borders. All right. So absolutely,
so they can extend their borders.
Do you know that in the pre-modern era, in the Islamic world, if you were some
golden
poor lowly messenger boy sent by let's say a European king to the caliphs in the Islamic world, that guy needed to get a special permit directly from the caliphate, because once he stepped foot in the Ummah, in the Islamic world, in the Arabic, I'm translating it, his blood is free game, which means he can be murdered, he can be slaughtered, enslaved instantly, because he's the de facto enemy. And why on earth are you entering our home, our land, the Islamic world? Okay, he needed a special permit from all the way on top, or he's done for. Okay, and again, this isn't even an Islamic thing. I'm just trying. This just came to my head, but historically, that's what people did. They protect their borders, all right? Any which way they have to, whether it's by putting a wall, putting a fence, shooting people, stopping people, any which way. So I find it ridiculous to even use those. That's what I was thinking. This is, how can you even compare the two?
Like three fences.
An American citizen murdering another American citizen because I don't like what you say, with a nation protecting its borders against people who do not belong there and who know they don't belong there and who are taking a risk anyway.
Purposely risking it.
Okay, big difference. Now let's actually let's talk about the whole shooting thing. Is that even plausible? How effective is that? Should a country do that? Am I saying a country should go do that? No. What I'm saying is this, and again, it was Peter who brought it up, and I think I actually nominally agreed with him. Because that's actually what has happened historically. But the point is,
he was on a atheist talk show, I guess you could say, and the cameramen walked off during their conversations. 2 cameramen walked off.
That is crazy.
Hey, take a look at that second one, though. That second video that's coming up on the next one, this one's crazy. Take a look at that.
Let's take a look at this one as well, folks.
The helicopter that gets shot out of the sky.
So the helicopter is right there. It appears to be a Black Hawk.
No mames, no mames, no mames.
We also see another one as well.
Métanse. Vete a la...
And they're just laying into him. Oh my God.
This guy's going off this, filming this thing too. He said, oh my God. He said, damn.
Oh my God.
Vete a la verga, no es cierto. No seas cabrón.
Holy cow.
No puedo creer. Qué chingón.
Not good, no bueno.
Dios santo. Dios santo. Señores, es aquí en el Grullo reportando. Se empezó el desmadre ahora sí.
The third one?
Ni
Only
salgan,
2 Blackhawks.
ni salgan.
Dang, man, they are literally just circling above, just like doing it like a fish
Taking
in a
them
barrel
off,
routine.
like,
And
dang.
can we get a geolocation? It says El Grullo. Like, how large is this area? Like, can we generally see
Probably
where this is
pretty
at on the
large.
map?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we definitely can. Let's see. This would be in the Jalisco state. So this is this town here.
Probably
Okay, so
right
it's
in the
not too
center
big
of
an
it.
area, so we might be able to figure out exactly where they're pounding the area at.
Let's see. I need to go back to the first clip to get the wider POV. So they're on a hill. There's a large mountain over there in the distance, but it looks to be a good ways away. So if I'm taking a guess at anything, these
That's the
people
hill
are up here
there.
somewhere on this hillside.
Yeah.
Let me drop it down on Street View and see if I can get something close to that. Yep, that's it. So that over there, which would be about over here somewhere. So there's a little cartel group probably around this ranch or somewhere in this area. And the
Yeah.
helicopters are just circling over these fields and literally just mowing them down.
Damn. So they're letting loose. Apparently they knew where they were at least it appears like, or either the U.S. gave them intelligence about where they were at, one or the other. But they are letting loose. But still, though, we're not seeing a ground presence, at least right now. We're seeing an air presence, but no ground presence, at least right now by the Mexican security forces.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, man. Those guys in the helicopters, man, they're like, there they are. I love America. Brad's like, damn. It's like, bro, they're going off. Like, I'm not gonna lie, folks. I kind of love how the Mexican Air Force, which is the one who operates the helicopters, every time they're like, we need to conduct an anti-cartel operation. What should we do it with? They're always like, M134 minigun. And then they just send out like 4 helicopters with miniguns. There was a
Live for
clip
3
that came
hours.
out a long time ago. It was from close to the U.S. border, I believe. And the Mexican
Yeah, man, I'm
Federal
doing good.
Marines
How
had
about
just
you?
set up a Huey and just literally hovered right over the house they were trying to get. Remember it, Matthew? They just aimed the minigun straight down and just started spraying into the house to get anything.
Yeah, I
in
remember
there.
that.
It's crazy. Like the Mexican Air Force is a really crazy group when it comes to miniguns. I really like it though.
How's
It's
life
pretty
been?
neat.
Hopefully it's been treating you pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be
Work
pretty
isn't driving you
decently
too crazy
effective.
either,
It's
I
hard to
hope.
escape a minigun because, it fires so many rounds a second. It's obviously a huge ammunition waster, but it's hard to miss with a minigun.
Man, it's hard to miss. I mean, especially when you have 2 helicopters, they're literally just circling like sharks over the exact spot.
Yeah, that's
that they're
crazy.
at. I mean, look at this, folks. This looks like it might be an MI8 or an MI17 because the Mexicans have those as well. And then a UH-60 Blackhawk that's over there as well. I mean, that's really crazy to see. But with that, it is time for us to move on to the next one. It's pretty wild footage, though.
Oh, that's fun.
Indeed. Also, by the way, someone
HVAC's
said,
pretty
what
cool
type
to
of
get
ammo is that
into.
minigun shooting? I think it
You got to
shoots
crawl into some
7.62 by
nasty spots
51,
sometimes, depending on the
cartridges,
house
I believe.
or
I think it's a
company
standard
you're
NATO
working
round,
with.
I
If
think.
you're doing like
So it's spending a good
industrial,
bit of money
it kinda sucks,
minigun, so it's
but-
putting some serious ammo on the ground.
Industrial
They cost a pretty good
HVAC's
bit,
not
because I'm
fun.
not sure. Let's see. It shoots about 2,000 to 6,000 rounds a minute. So I mean, this thing's chewing through ammo.
That's good money
like it's
there, too.
hungry. This thing right here, it's really something.
Yeah, it's really cool. 7.62 by 51, depending on the type of round they're using, is
Big
not
round.
that cheap. I think the cheapest rounds that you can get are probably like
Like a
about, at least
$3
for
or $4
civilian
bucks.
prices, about $1.50. So each firing of a barrel on the minigun is costing about $1.50 each. It's kind of cool though because it's basically.
I
just
would love
a
to
simple,
fire a
like, the
minigun.
premise
That
of
would be
this thing
so
is it's
fun.
basically just
My
a
son got
simple-
a Nerf gun minigun. That thing's pretty cool. Would have been something I would have wanted when I was a kid. Yeah, that's cool. And you get to there's a lot of unions for HVAC too, so that's good. A lot of job openings. Everybody needs it now. Plumbing, HVAC, electrical. So many jobs. Welding.
Welcome in, everyone. I hope you're doing well wherever you're watching from today. We have some major breaking news. A massive
Major
military
breaking news.
operation has resulted in the death of the most wanted drug cartel kingpin in the world, known as El Mencho. He was killed today
It's
in
such a
Mexico,
weird
and
name,
a
El
cartel
Mencho.
war has absolutely erupted in the combat footage from the streets in Mexico after the insane operation is absolutely half part fascinating, half part crazy, and absolutely horrifying all at the same time. So we're going to get into what we know happened. What is happening now is the combat is unleashed across the country, reports of U.S. military involvement on the ground, and much, much more. You're not going to want to miss 1 second of this footage. Before we get into it, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free. Cost you guys absolutely nothing at all. Huge, huge boost to the channel. Comment with your thoughts below. President Trump vowed we would kill the drug cartel leaders, and now the most wanted man is dead. Let me know what you think of the footage of taking out the leader. Let me know in the comments below. Hit the notification bell. All notifications turned on. You won't miss a thing. And then Instagram, David_Hookstead, X D Hookstead. Give me a follow on both sites. My DMs are wide open. Reach out for any tips you got. Now let's get into it. I'm going to throw this right up on the screen. It says, breaking news, Mexican newspaper El Universal reports that I can't pronounce this guy's name. His full legal name is Nemesio Oseguero Cervantes, known as El Mencho, the leader of Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, has been killed.
A lot of
This
people are
has now been
retiring.
Confirmed by multiple reports. The most wanted drug cartel.
A lot of people retiring, and it wasn't pushed for the millennial generation for sure.
Way more bloodshed.
Most generations were just told to go to college anymore.
February 22nd, in a daring raid. We know that the Mexican military was involved.
So apparently the CIA assisted with this. I don't think they were physically there with El Mencho's death. Probably would have been handled a lot differently where he wouldn't have been killed. But that's what set everybody into a rage in Mexico right now. They killed their leader, and now the biggest cartel, I guess, that's down there is right in hell on earth at this point.
Early reports indicate it was a joint operation with the United States military. That likely would mean Delta Force. Yes, you heard that correctly. Delta Force is likely, just with other operations, for taking out this drug cartel scumbag. He was killed in a blaze of gunfire, eliminated from the battlefield. I've told you for some time, Delta Force is quietly working in Mexico. We are now seeing the biggest victory against the drug cartels since Pablo Escobar. El Mencho was a horrific, horrific human, and he is responsible for the deaths and poisoning of countless Americans. And he has now been killed. He's as dead as disco. He is gone forever. And what can only be described is a wildly successful military operation. Unfortunately, his henchmen have taken to the streets. Now, I want to warn you, the footage I'm about to show you is highly troubling and at times very violent. So following his death, the drug cartel members of CJNG flooded the streets to shoot.
But even then,
they could find Mexican police, Mexican military.
Like the entry for a lot of IT jobs is
right now. This is
way lower than what you would start out in a trade
you see
field. It's like 40,000 to start out in IT. If you're lucky to get that.
We got a lot of videos. Stick around. There you go. They're running. Shots fired. Shots fired. Unbelievably brutal combat on the streets right now between the drug cartel and uniformed soldiers. We have never seen anything like this in modern history. Mexico is turning into a modern all-out war zone following the killing of El Mencho. This is in Guadalajara, Mexico. Reports of gunfire on the streets, people fleeing their vehicles. You can see people running. Shots fired. We've got shots fired. You can see gunmen in the video firing shots right there. Now they're getting in what looks to be a taxi and taking off. So these appear to be gunmen. Here, they have set fire to a bus full of people. Hopefully all the people got off. You can see the bus torched by the drug cartels right there. You can see people running and fleeing down the road. Stick with us. We got a lot of more insane footage. This is an arson attack in the Chula Vista neighborhood of Guanajuato. If I'm mispronouncing that, let me know in the comments below. The cartels have attacked this area. It is up in flames, up in smoke. Violence erupting across the country. And then here, we've got people in a mall. Oh, sorry, this is the airport. They've attacked the airport. The drug cartels, CJNG, has attacked the airport. People are running for their lives. They are in the airport. We have shots fired, people running. You can see smoke. The drug cartels targeting innocent civilians. Absolutely
Yeah, he's got the new
despicable,
guild up and running. They built
disgusting.
some buildings and
then
stuff. I
here's a
saw.
video from
I want to get back
Tapalapa,
into it
Jalisco,
eventually, but not
that
right
shows
now. It's
men
not the time
moving
yet for
through
me.
Fields armed.
I ain't
right
re-rolling
here,
my characters
engaged
though.
in
Not doing all that
combat.
work all over again.
You can hear machine gun fire.
He's a crazy
erupting.
man re-rolling to an Augmere and starting all over.
Helicopters are in the air. Machine gun bursts right there. We do not know if these are soldiers or if these are cartel members. So there's an armored vehicle pressing up on the drug cartel area. And then here we have CJNG has set structures on fire in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Massive fire, vehicles are burning,
Yeah,
the
they're just
attacks are
burning
underway.
everything. They were trying to light a gas station on fire.
Unbelievable scenes we are witnessing in real time following the killing of El Mencho. You can hear gunfire. There you go. You can see a bus has been torched. It is an all-out war
It's
zone,
very
folks.
easy
It
to
is
burn
an
yourself out in that
all-out war zone
game.
in Mexico.
I get it. That's why I'm in no rush to get back to it. It does take a lot of time.
Here we have
up
a
to even
pilot at the Guadalajara
do
International Airport.
one thing or
Reports
another.
CJNG is storming the airport, literally on the tarmac.
Yeah, it's always fun. You're
This
always
is
welcome
out of
back.
a movie.
Just sucks it's got a paywall in front
This
of
is
it too.
out of a movie. They're warning people the attacks are underway at the airport.
Be easier to
They're
like
trying
hop in and out when you
kill
wanted to
everyone
without
they
the
can
paywall.
in retaliation. Further footage out of the airport. People fleeing.
Oh yeah, a
running
lot of
for their
people are running out
lives.
of this. I guess it's a parking garage. Or a loading dock, one or the other.
These are
Oh, that's a
innocent
tarmac.
civilians that the cartels are targeting. I've never seen anything like this before.
I would have run out into the
This
tarmac.
is unbelievable.
Like, this is wide
This is
open.
surreal. The number one drug kingpin is
Nothing to hide
dead,
behind.
and his people are taking revenge on anyone out in the streets. These people running for their lives, running to safety, trying to get out of the way of the gunfire. And then here, we have black smoke after bombings in Puerto Vallarta. You can see right there, buildings
happened?
have been bombed
Stitch.
by the drug cartels. This is a vacation area. They are literally attacking
I see your head on
tourist
the camera.
destinations.
You're standing right here.
If
I
you are
see
an
your head with
American in Mexico,
the stitch
get
ears
to
on.
safety.
Your stitch
More
ears.
footage
Come over here a little
of
bit more.
Puerto Vallarta.
There
Get
you
to
go.
safety.
Look
They're
at your
setting
camera.
up blockades, hunting for people.
Your stitch,
Stay
the stitch
indoors.
ears and head on the camera when he came over to get a drink.
You are an American. Get out if
Too
you
cute.
can. Unbelievable footage. All right, here we have more footage. This is literally coming out breaking as I am
Yeah, I don't
bringing
even
this
think
to
I
you.
have Dodo
More
on
people in the
Steam.
airport running
I'm
for
just
their
in
lives.
Discords
There's
yet.
police.
I thought about
Police are
leaving,
running.
but I
The
didn't.
police are fleeing. There, we saw that one already. More explosions, bombings
More
are
cars on
underway.
fire.
And then right here, you can see cars
You
that have
okay?
been torched. Folks, I'm telling you right now, we are witnessing something unlike anything. Okay, breaking news coming in right now. They have begun bombing military sites. Military sites in Mexico are being bombed as we
Oh,
speak.
geesh.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a full-out civil
So they
war
are
down in
bombing
Mexico right now.
military bases in Mexico. All right, I'm going to pull this off the screen. So we have
Yeah,
an
I think you're
all-out
still on my
war.
Discord too.
All-out war has broken out in Mexico.
I'm pretty sure.
after a military operation that reports indicate was a joint operation between
You
United
got a
States
lollipop?
forces and Mexican special forces, killed El Mencho,
Calming
the
him down.
leader of CJNG, the most violent and powerful drug
That's your
cartel
chili
in the world.
pop.
We have been hunting El Mencho for decades.
What do you do?
If you
Bite
are
you like
watching
Mike
this, I
Tyson?
can report to the American people and people of the world, he has been killed.
What
And
movie
that
you
is
gonna
a
watch?
great day for those of us who want to protect innocent life. But now violence and terrorism is spreading.
Star Wars? That's a hairdryer. A hairdryer video. You wanna watch something on my phone? Are you sure about that? Question is, oh, I know why it's not coming up. There's the multi-chat. I had that up the entire time. Wasn't showing up. I've been missing out on my kick messages. Sorry, kick person. Brutos. Nice to meet you. Good thing I checked on my phone. I had no idea I gotta get messages from Kick. Oh, okay. Ah, there you are. Now you're in. I don't really play much of anything nowadays. Try to every once in a while, but oh gosh, we're gonna watch some scandals. I gotta go to the bathroom real quick, so I'll be right back. Down a little bit. Visiting old games. Sort of, I know what I've been doing. Yeah, I was playing Final Fantasy 10 there for a little bit. And now I'm just like hopping in on Marvel Rivals for a little bit, and that's really it. Just Rivals when I feel like it. And that's every couple of games. So like, not really grinding for anything. I'm gonna try to get back into rank, but I just haven't been able to pull the trigger on that one yet. There we go. I think we're gonna strike Iran tonight. I mean, Mexico's the perfect distraction right now.
With dozens of drone strikes and ballistic missiles focused on Ukraine's energy infrastructure in and around Kyiv and the Black Sea port of Odessa. Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott joins us from Kyiv. Hello, Greg.
Hello, Shannon. That's right. Just days before the 4th anniversary of the war between Ukraine and Russia, Moscow is showing no mercy.
We were awakened at 4 in the morning by blasts of ballistic and cruise missiles plus drones targeting energy infrastructure in this frigid winter. This as negotiating teams participate in rounds of talks to try and end the fighting. A new session is expected by the end of the month. It's said President Trump
don't know.
result by June, but that's a reach with the Russian
Yeah,
President
it's a
Putin
big reach.
balking on issues like territory
Big
and
reach and a
security
big ask.
guarantees. Ukrainian parliament member Kirill told
Putin
us
has to
despite
basically
domestic
go
issues
all
like
out or
corruption
just give
scandals
up
and
everything he's trying to gain.
President Zelensky, Ukraine will make it.
We really appreciate everything that the United States have done for us. We are really grateful. What we want to see is clear understanding that Russia is an aggressor, and the keys to ending the war are in Kremlin. They are not here in Kyiv.
Still, with casualties on both sides mounting, the personal cost of this war for young and old becomes hard to bear.
People die. This is bad.
Terrible and horrible. My husband is in the army.
If they were not doing their job, then now we will be under the Russia.
With the support of our allies, I think everything can be possible.
Everything.
Yeah, Final Fantasy has always been a good series, honestly. Made me want to play the newer games, but yeah, surprised she made it through there without knocking everything over and down. You're going back under? Oh, decoy voice is talking about it now.
Mexico falls into chaos as a cartel takes over large parts of Jalisco, including a potential of American hostages, as tourists first reported fires all across the city.
Well, this one just started here. There's some fires over there on the 200 apparently.
More spread out than I thought.
Not sure what's going on.
Seen from popular hotels in Puerto Vallarta.
I can see the flames underneath that black smoke. Huge plumes everywhere. Another big one over there. Another one directly behind this resort we're staying at.
As Canadian tourists are stranded on the top of their hotel.
Yeah.
Where even their Costco was under attack, as the cartels are setting vehicles on fire. And claims on social media say,
yeah, I played I want to go back and play on my Game Boy the Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I think it's like Final Fantasy Tactics that they just re-released, I guess, updated. But it was just for Game Boy Advance at the time, and I guess you could play it on the SP2 since those cartridges transferred over.
A prison was set ablaze as inmates have escaped, with the cartels
But I enjoyed that
carjacking
when I had
random
fun.
travelers to set their vehicles
Just like
on fire,
overpowering my character
even
and
attacking gas stations to do the same.
blowing things up. Unlike this gas station that did not blow up.
Shutting down roads by
What?
leaving buses ablaze.
Painting your nails purple.
Even stopping semis to also set them on fire.
Yeah.
And even scooters still inside stores.
Yeah, and I think it's only like $40 on Steam.
Now, the local
I want to
police
play that
have
one too,
responded,
but I want to go
but
back to the
sadly,
original tactics
several
I
of
played.
them are already deceased. Now their National Guard has arrived.
I think they're different stories, honestly, I do.
And are actually going to war with the cartels right in the street.
Hey, Roku, where are you? Do you hear me? Muted. Oh. No. Actually, I want to Google that. The new one's the Chronicles, right? Yeah, this came out in 2003. Original Tactics came out. That was a PlayStation. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're different games, I'm pretty sure. Hamza, the game features 2 modes, battles and world map. Battles plays characters move on the battlefield. Where's the story plot? Kingdom inspired by the Middle Ages. Kingdoms located surrounded by sea. Synopsis: the game is split between 2 locations, St. Alvis, a modern countryside adventure realm called Avalis, which is reached through a magical book that transforms the town and its people based on the dreams of the book's readers. The book called, yeah, they're different. Because he runs into, yeah, Mute and Ritz. Yeah, different protagonists. Following the Reese. Unable to create one due to work on other projects. He also wanted to stand apart from Tactics rather than being a state sequel and created a proposal During that period, Square was mending relations with Nintendo, with whom there had been a long-standing estrangement. 7 on the rival PlayStation platform. Well, I remember the Dreamcast. It was such a good console. Yeah, I thought I would be able to find an emulator or something for it. But the emulator I was trying to download didn't work.
Streets, as it really looks like there's a civil war going on in Mexico, and sadly, civilians are getting caught in the middle, where even hospitals don't know whether to evacuate or to shelter in place. But as some people attempt to escape, the airports are getting shut down as well, as some scramble to get inside. Everywhere looks like pure chaos.
It is very chaotic. That's what the cartels wanted, though. Chaos.
Where some travelers are sheltering in place.
Algo está pasando. Todo el mundo está corriendo.
It appears employees were trying to escape.
Esto es lo que estamos viviendo. Es horrible.
And you can't blame anyone for not knowing where to go when the carnage is part of the cartel's plan, and it's absolutely working. Where some hotel guests describe the confusion.
Here on the beach, the tiki bar is being cleared out. All of these things are being cleared out. It's being roped off right now. They're asking that everybody vacate the area and leave immediately. You can see the smoke.
Yep.
I don't know if you can, the smoke in the sky.
We were just walking on the beach and we saw smoke everywhere, and we're being informed that there's major cartel violence happening. A top-ranking cartel member, and when that happens, all-out war happens. A number of cars have been set on fire, motorcycles set on fire. In fact, there were some attendees of Anarchapulco who were in a taxi cab. They had their car shot at, the taxi driver was murdered, and the car was set on fire. All of their luggage has been burnt, including their clothes and passports, in fact. So it's a pretty scary, dire situation right now. We're being told do not go out at all. In fact, the entire airport may be shut down right now because of this cartel violence. I mean, we heard Trump mentioning a while back that he's going to go after the cartel in Mexico. Is this the beginning of that? Are we witnessing it live? I don't know, but...
While others seem very casual about the events.
Oh, jeez. Let's go. Let's go. Follow me. Just follow me. It can't explode anymore. Oh.
Probably not.
Oh. Oh, really? Oh. Wow.
This guy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
This isn't nice.
He's definitely from Canada.
Run for the hills. But listen, they've already hit this street. So, I think we're okay. It's a shame. I wish I can get a cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee. I was gonna say.
I don't even drink that much. I need a cup of coffee. You need a drink. Oh my God, self-centered to the extreme. The world, everything's exploding. Oh, and there's a little lady sweeping up the leaves. You know, nothing ever changes.
And I don't know if that's smart, or it's the shock, or if you're seeing the locals casually standing around, you should feel somewhat safe to go grab a coffee. Because at this point, basically everything reported is a rumor. As some say the cartels are about to enter homes and hotels if their demands are not met. With the U.S. Embassy also addressing the situation, stating due to ongoing security operations, related roadblocks, and criminal activity, U.S. citizens should shelter in place. But the situation appears to be getting minimal news coverage. with the local outlets reporting on the massive attacks, stating the cartel's leader, who had a bounty of 10 million US dollars, has been taken out by their local federal forces, with 6 others being detained as counterattacks occur statewide, where Puerto Vallarta authorities are urging everybody to stay indoors. Public transit is suspended and businesses are asked to close, with all flights into Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara are being diverted. Scary to think US citizens could be captured in this, but sadly that's a known risk when traveling to a country that's largely controlled by the cartels, with rumors that these resorts are too owned by those same gangs, and even residents speculating their president is as well. But hopefully this all gets resolved in the near future. I just wonder what the American implications might be, as our borders have been a hot button issue for the last decade, and this is yet another reminder of why border security should be such a priority. But in the scary event that US citizens become collateral damage in Mexico's unrest, does that mean our military must get involved? And after what happened in Venezuela, what's about to happen in Iran, I really don't want another hot conflict to occur. But what do you think? If US citizens are involved, should our military as well? Or is this something we shouldn't concern ourselves with as long as it stays on that side of the border? I genuinely want to know what everybody thinks and eagerly await what that channel Task and Purpose has to say about this. So if you appreciate my concise, sometimes lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, subscribe to Decoy.
Decoy voice. Okay, we saw Trump was going to be speaking. What was that?
No, she's... Well, it wasn't meant to be, and we're very friendly with her. She's a good woman, but the cartels are running Mexico. She's not running Mexico. The cartels are running Mexico. And we could be politically correct and be nice and say, oh, yes, she is. No, she's very, she's very frightened of the cartels. They're running Mexico. And I've asked her numerous times, would you like us to take out the cartels? No, Mr. President. No, please. So we have to do something because we lost. The real number is 300,000 people, in my opinion. They like to say 100,000. 100,000 is a lot of people, but the real number is 300,000 people. And we lost it to drugs, and they come in through the southern border, mostly the southern border. Plenty come in through Canada, too, by the way, in case you don't know. But they come in through the southern border, and
this is an old
something's going to have to be done with Mexico. Well, it wasn't meant to be, and we're very friendly with her.
Breaking U.S. blasts the controls of us numerous times. Would you like us? Yeah, this is an old report. Most morals calling out people. Lucy personally about making your whole brand sexual and feeding off of men in the past. We think it is. Oh, yummy! You got ice cream cone. Sexual leftist VTubers who think they can step on anyone over disagreements. Some of the most problematic in this space before we started speaking up have been them. Yeah. All the booby streamers. This white lady's a sad excuse for a human being. If you and your merc. What? At family in Iran, they have confirmed this horrific news. Oh, wow. Caitlin Johnston. LMAO. Shut that up. That's not very nice. Huh? It's a problem that they wanted to and they don't want to. Our society is led by plutocrats. who only know how to make more money by unelected empire managers who only know how to dominate and control them by elected politicians who only know how to say the. That's like her opinion, man. Get over it. She's not MAGA. If you're going to blame MAGA versus something, that make it true. Not just throw things out randomly. Agreed. What is she then? An anarchist? Someone who wants to be left alone? Who gives a crap? The point is, Naz took the entire post of hers out of context. Go read it and see if you disagree. Apparently she hates the oppressive Australia, but complains about U.S. military. My guess, typical communist. I don't know her any background, and she's got the right to lay out the facts of Iranian diaspora begging for war, wherever she's from. You're done? Or am I just holding this? Yeah, she ain't no MAGA. That woman ain't no MAGA. I agree with you on her discussion. I don't agree with the recent insults. How many white people have stood up? Yeah. What's wrong with mayonnaise? I like mayonnaise.
Eso para que respete el Yo te quiero mucho. Eso para que respete el Yo te quiero mucho. Ahora me quiere. Ahora me quiere. El padre me quiere mucho. Ahora te quiere, padre. El padre me quiere. Ahora te quiere, padre. El padre me quiere mucho.
I agree with violence all the time, but sometimes people just need a good whack aside the head.
It sounds like a pretty wild claim to say you're a citizen and you don't care about the history and the culture and the politics and the freedom that you've been granted.
I think anyone who like associates themselves with politics, like you're honestly pretty. Like no politician will ever work for you.
The American foundation is based on self-governance. So if you can't govern yourself, like about as un-American as it gets.
I don't give a about that.
What a loser. So many losers. Enforcer's still going. What? Mamdani's getting exposed? Never would have thought. Never would have thought that. Let's see. Let's see what they got in Mamdani. Mamdana.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's the meme of the day brought to you by 5mind.com. Well, you know, at some point, I wake up the next day and I say, probably not going to do a Zoran Mamdani video, right? I mean, I get it. People are kind of expecting and kind of relishing in his demise and truly expecting a total collapse under his leadership. I get that, but, I'd like to cover some different topics. But there's one person who just, continues to force my hand. He keeps coming to me and saying, nope, liberal hive mind, no break from Zoran for you. You are producing another Zoran Mamdani video today. And that person, my friends, is none other than friggin' Zoran Mamdani himself, because every day it's a new scandal, a new grift, a new element of policy or Zoran Mamdani agenda collapse. Every day it just keeps getting worse and worse for this clown. It's arguably one of the worst starts I've ever seen of any American politician, let alone governor. I mean, we were expecting it to be bad, but this bad? Oh man. Zoran Mamdani once again gets totally exposed, totally humiliated and embarrassed as people kind of found something a little bit interesting and hypocritical on his government application website. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on here. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so it all started with this. You got Zoran Mamdani, who, you know, he's trying his darndest, he's trying his best, but he just hasn't been able to keep up with the storm. Basic city services under his leadership have totally collapsed, and now I guess is the play of desperation. He's given up, and he's resorted to now asking able-bodied New Yorkers to please sign up and help as emergency snow shovelers.
We're utilizing 33 DSNY vans and 2 DSNY buses to transport shovelers where they're needed faster. And for those who want to do more to help your neighbors and earn some extra cash, you too can become an emergency snow shoveler. Just show up at your local sanitation garage between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. tomorrow with your paperwork, which is accessible online at nyc.gov/snow, and you can get started right away.
Oh man, of course now, it's bad enough as is. You know, this guy ran on a big government program, you know, the far leftist worldview that government can solve every problem. But now I guess this is an indirect admission that he can't even handle a snowstorm, and so he now wants to leave. He's failed at his job and is now calling on community effort to bail his dumbass out. And obviously that's a monumental failure in its own, but it gets even worse because, of course, the internet does what the internet does. People started reviewing the website that his government put up, requesting people to apply to help as emergency snow shovelers, and you guys won't believe what was found. And by won't believe, I mean you'll definitely believe, because Democrats are the biggest hypocrites on planet Earth. But look right over here. Here are the requirements. You apparently need 2 forms of identification. Zoran Mamdani as your boss. Ah, interesting now, isn't it? But doesn't that discriminate against the illegals that supposedly deserve all rights? Isn't voter ID racist? Hey, black people and women won't be able to apply for this job. What the hell are you thinking, Zoran? It's so freaking stupid, honestly. It's freaking insane. The same far left that screams that voter ID, demanding ID to vote, is somehow Jim Crow 2.0. Well, they're demanding multiple forms of ID to pick up a shovel and earn $19 an hour. It's the ultimate hypocrisy, and it shows how these sort of rules and standards on the left only really apply when they feel it benefits them, when it suits them. Making voting in federal elections a total free-for-all, opening the door for potential fraud, totally a-okay. But applying for a job for Zoran Mamdani's New York City government, well, I guess it's right back to Jim Crow we go, huh? Absolute insanity. We are watching a slow-motion train wreck with Mamdani's face right on it. It's the Netflix adaptation of Thomas the Tank Engine, starring Zoran Mamdani in the first scene right as the movie opens up. Is this little Mamdani locomotive flying off a freaking cliff, dropping 100 feet into a damn crater? I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it's a full-on collapse. This guy was promising the world before he got elected. All you regular New Yorkers out there, all you green-haired hipsters struggling to pay your rent in New York City, you know, knitting gender-neutral scarves just isn't cutting it. You can't pay your rent. Oh, it's ultimate Donald Glorfian fascism. Well, this guy came in and promised he was going to fix everything. Every social and economic issue with the snap of his finger was going to dissipate away. All your problems were going to be fixed by Zoran Mamdani, the second coming of Muhammad himself. And he claimed that you weren't going to be on the hook for any of it. No, the rich, the ethereal rich, were going to pay for everything. Free housing, free healthcare, free education, you name it. All on the backs of the billionaires, who for some reason were going to stick around and foot the bill. But now, of course, reality has kicked in, and it's becoming clear to people that you get absolutely nothing. Well, except for him trying to increase your taxes, and now the city can't even shovel the damn snow on the streets, so you have to do it for a measly $19 an hour in New York City. What does that buy you? A pack of frickin' gum at the local bodega? I mean, what it really feels like is the ultimate bait and switch. All this talk, and then a whole lot of nothing, and of course sprinkled with a heavy serving of disappointment. This guy hasn't been able to accomplish anything. He said he was going to do all these things, but instead, you need to now shovel the roads and pay more taxes. Yeah, safe to say people aren't exactly taking it well, and it's not just residents. No, also public officials, as it appears city council members are starting to turn on him.
I think that it's ridiculous to be proposing a 9.5% property tax increase. He's essentially tax mailing the city of New York by saying, if you don't give me the taxes I need up in Albany, I'm going to tax New York City property owners.
Complete chaos in New York City. And Zoran Mamdani, honestly, looks like a lost little puppy. I mean, he looks totally out of his depth. And no better way to see that, to put that into perspective, than to see his priorities. You know, while he should be focused on balancing the budget, while he should be focused on, you know, getting his government in a position where they can provide basic services like cleaning up the roads, instead of focusing his government on just being able to do the basic, no, Mamdani is focused on more important things like, you know, endless woke crap.
We will create a centralized mechanism for coordinating policy across agencies so that government speaks with one voice in times of need. City Hall will not look away. When our immigrant neighbors are in trouble, they often turn first to their faith networks for counsel, for legal aid, for someone to accompany them to court. We have prepared 30,000 guides to New Yorkers' rights in 10 languages, the ones most spoken by some of the most heavily targeted populations in our city, teaching our neighbors what to do if ICE targets them. These guides are here today, ready for you to take. I urge you to share these with your congregants, even those who are citizens, even those whom you think ICE may not target. These materials apply to us all.
Yeah, the next focus is using taxpayer dollars to create multilingual guides to avoid ICE arrest for illegal aliens. I mean, what the actual F is going on? Everything's falling around this guy, and he's focused on defending an insane person who charged a police officer with a knife, and of course doubling down on the sanctuary city chaos. This guy is an absolute monumental failure. And like I said in the intro, I don't think I've ever seen an American politician fail this badly, this fast. Honestly, I think Mamdani's rise and fall at the end of all of this ought to be studied. Anyways, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
What? They shoot you?
Off the road. Duffy explaining a little bit more earlier today.
Well, it's not loaded in. Oh, now you loaded it. Yeah, let's listen to this.
Can I just pause? I think something I don't know what you're doing right now, because I feel like we need to talk about these. Okay.
No, continue.
I'm gonna wait for his tantrum to be over, and then I'll go.
Okay. Well, I'll let you know when it's over.
Okay. Are we done? Or are you still tantruming?
Me just sitting here as a tantrum?
You were throwing in, not willing to listen to me, and throwing your hands in the air.
This, that's all.
I'm doing cross eyes and making fun of me.
Well, that was silly. It's silly to say that you think that the founders should have found some way that every single independent pan-Protestant religion would find some kind of unifying creed they would all just suddenly agree to, rather than them just saying, we're just not going to impose any religious standards on states. You guys can do it yourself.
Yeah, I think that if the founding fathers actually believed that the merging of church and state was important, they would have found a way to write it into the Constitution.
They did via the 10th Amendment.
They did not.
They did.
Allowing states to have choice and purview is not the same thing as writing.
Were states allowed to make their own religions or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with, for example, saying that the church doesn't get a hand in statescraft, which is written exclusively into the
only at the
1A.
federal level.
Yes.
Because they didn't have a unification for things like oaths and other things that all the pan-Protestants would agree to at the federal level.
They just couldn't think of any. They were like, man, we really...
They argued about it nonstop.
This is your premise. Mm-hmm. The founding fathers actually really wanted to write in the merging of church and state. It was something that they really cared about.
At the federal level, they didn't.
But they couldn't find a way to federally write these things in together. And so, don't interrupt me. And so instead, what they did is they wrote it out and they just let states do, so they could sneakily blend in their blurring of church and state. That's your argument.
Truly, your intellect
Is that your argument?
Is dizzying. No, my argument is that...
Are we getting personal?
That the founding fathers...
Are we getting personal? Because you said no personal when we started this.
Wait a second.
You said my intellect is dizzying.
Yeah, you can call me stupid. So the thing is I am so curious about this. I actually don't even understand the
I just want to be clear
now.
that we're breaking the rules
So
of
the
decorum by your
federal
standards.
government, was that really harsh? Like, truly your intellect is dizzying? That's harsh.
I would say in
that's
general.
a movie line, by the way.
I would say in
from The
general
Princess
that if
Bride.
we want to have a good engagement back and forth, we, for example, agreed to things like not getting
That's
personal.
not personal. It's from The Princess Bride. It's a joke.
So you only meant it as a joke. You weren't trying to call me stupid.
Well, this position's stupid.
Are you calling me stupid? Because when you say my intellect is dizzying, it feels like you're saying
it is dizzying.
So you think
but
I'm
the
stupid?
thing is here, I don't get.
I don't know why you wouldn't just
is
own
like-
that you're insulting me.
is
This
like
is so
you
crazy.
you go, wait a second, Andrew. It would have been way better for the pan-Protestant and Catholics at the federal level for them to somehow agree on some kind of
Didn't say better.
unifying creed.
Didn't say better.
Or make more sense that they would agree to some sort of unifying creed, even though Protestantism can also change. You can have like a new denomination which pops up that doesn't agree with this. And so they're like, wait a second, instead of doing that, what we'll do instead is we'll leave it up to the prospective states, and then they can impose
Because
whatever religion. Hang on,
secretly
Kyla,
want
calm
the
down,
blending
Kyla,
of church
calm
and
down,
state.
Kyla. I just want to finish.
Okay.
Okay. The states can blend and always were able to blend church and state. Yes.
And yet the federal level can't and doesn't.
That
and
was
so,
never in question.
So what is in question here is, by your logic, the founding fathers,
Yeah.
they actually secretly wanted the church and state to be blended, but they couldn't write it in because the Christians...
Where did you get that?
Your argument.
I never argued that.
This is the implication of
It's
your
not
argument.
even the implication
Of course it
of
is.
it.
You're saying that actually the founding fathers, they did want the blend of church and state. Do you think that?
They wanted the states to be able to blend
Do you
church and
think
state.
that the founding fathers wanted America to have a blend of church and state? That they wanted the church
It
to
depends
help
on which
make
ones you're
state
talking about. Some of them did.
You
Some
said
of
the
them
majority. You said the majority of founding fathers.
didn't. No, the majority of the founding fathers who signed, I said, were not deists.
You
That's
also
what I
said the
said.
majority of them
Yeah.
were like some
Foundational Protestants.
Yeah,
yes.
they were men of God,
and
right?
from different denominations.
And do you think that those men of God couldn't have tried to, like, if they wanted to write in that the federal government has a blending of church and state, that they couldn't have found a way to possibly do that?
Or they just give it to the states prospectively, which makes more sense.
Why would they then explicitly write it out of the federal government?
Because they wanted it to go to the states specifically, so that for purposes of things like oath keeping and
Why wouldn't
things
they
like
make
this.
a rule then that says states must maintain some form of Christian religion?
Because that doesn't mean anything. If you say you have to be a form of Christian,
How does that not
who
mean
gets to make the determination of who a Christian is?
Usually it's going to be the Christian people of that state, right? How does
Exactly.
Wait,
That's my whole point.
It's not
Exactly.
your whole point. It's not your whole point.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
If the founders, if at the federal level they can't make a determination of who a Christian is or isn't, and that's why you leave it up to the state determines.
So by your implication, you're saying the founding fathers did actually want church and state to not be separate. However, they couldn't find a way to write it into the Constitution other than through the 10th Amendment, which doesn't even
You're
talk
getting one
specifically
whole
about...
part of this
Don't
wrong.
interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. You can correct me after. Just write it down.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you're saying the founding fathers, by implication, they actually did want the church and state to be blended. They actually valued that because you're saying that they wrote it into the Constitution by allowing the states to do it, which is implying then that the founding fathers did want church and state to be blended. They just couldn't write it in within the First Amendment clause, so they allowed the states to do it as a sneaky way to smuggle in church and
Lord.
state.
This is like the worst straw man ever. No, here's my actual position. The actual position is, due to the Articles of Confederation and that not working, we knew that we needed to have a federalist nation. Otherwise, we couldn't have currency, standing army, anything like this. Because of that, the states, who were completely distrustful of having a federal government because they had just fought off a massive fucking kingdom, were very distrustful. And so they needed to sell it to them. The way that they sold it to them is they were like, well, since it's all pan-Protestantism, we can't figure out our foundationalism. We will take a secular approach at the national level. And what we'll do is institute the 10th Amendment, and each of you can put in your own religions if you want to. That was the compromise. It has nothing to do with the motivation of the founders at the federal level, wanting it, not wanting it, loving it, not loving it.
It has
It has to do.
my argument.
Hang on. Okay, that's great. But you just said what you're saying is, which infers that's my argument, and it's not. My argument is there's a compromise between the states and between the feds. And the compromise was that the feds were not going to tell the states what religions they could or couldn't have, period.
And was the compromise, were the founding fathers compromising because they had a hope that the church and state would stay connected? They just couldn't write it in? Is that what you're saying?
At which level?
So they were hoping that the nation broadly would stay Christian within the statecraft, that there would be no separation of church and state. However, they couldn't write it in.
No, they wanted
So
at
they
the
did
national level to adhere to the idea that only the states could impose whatever their religious value structures
I'm
were.
asking, is it more reasonable to conclude that the founding fathers wanted a separation of church and state, or that they did not want a separation of church and state?
You have to express at which level.
I'm
though.
assuming that if they felt it at the federal level, they probably felt it at the statehood level. I don't know why a founding father would be like, I don't want it at the state level, but I actually do. You said compromise, right? They didn't get everything they wanted.
Jefferson didn't like that states had religions, and he made that clear. But other presidents made it clear that they were fine with it.
So the majority of the founding fathers, do you think that they wanted separation of church and state?
At the national level, that was the compromise, yes.
Do they want it, though?
I don't know. I can describe to you each of their motivations.
What's your presumption?
Some of them did and some of them didn't.
Do you think most of them did or most of them didn't?
I don't know if it's most. Do
well,
you?
You said a majority of the founding fathers. Well,
weren't
I would
deists.
say...
I said weren't deists.
No, you also said that they were loyal Protestant,
yes,
good old Christian
true.
boys.
They were.
So my argument would be that these good old Christian boys all agreed that separation of church and state mattered. That's why they wrote it into the Constitution.
At the federal level.
They didn't even prescribe states having a state religion. They just didn't take the states' right.
That was the compromise.
They just didn't take the states' right away from them doing so. That's not the same thing.
So they allowed the states to implement their own religions.
At a state level, but they would not at a federal level.
Then what are we arguing here?
We're arguing about whether or not the founding fathers wanted a separation of church and state or not.
At the federal, I don't know how else to make
Why
this
would
clear.
they want it not at the federal level?
At the federal level, they did not want a federal religion because states got make a religion.
Why didn't they want a federal religion?
Because they were compromising with the states.
Sure, but do you think that overall, if they didn't have to compromise, they would have preferred a federal religion?
Well, there wouldn't even, the whole framework of the nation would be so different. I don't even know how to speculate.
You're right. It would be completely different America if we didn't have separation of church and state, because the founding fathers, despite mostly being Christian, being loyal Christians, they understood the necessity of separation of church and state. Most of those founding fathers,
America, because there wouldn't then be states' rights, the 10th Amendment. There wouldn't be, the whole system would be totally different.
We're 10 minutes over.
So I don't have any idea what you're even referencing.
If you want to rewrite absurdism into it, that's totally fine. But it's pretty obvious that if the founding fathers wanted to have no separation of church and state, they could have done something. They could have employed in some direction.
I don't even know what she's arguing.
How about this?
You could steel man me and try.
Over time on this prompt.
You seem to be saying that
you guys want to do.
Was it
I don't know.
Was it the motivation? If it was the case that there was no states, would the founders have preferred no religion?
So I've made already an affirmative claim, which I said, well, the founding fathers, despite being dominantly Christian, despite valuing their Christianity, despite most of the nation being either Protestant or Catholic, went out of their way to write religion out of a federal nation, grounding America at a nation level as a non-religious nation state. In fact, so non-religious. So non-religious.
Here's the problem.
Hold on, I'm not done.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Really quick before you go, we are a bit over time on this prompt.
It does give them some time to tantrum, so you can read your TTS if you want.
Well, do you guys...
What tantrum? I'm just sitting here.
You're eye rolling and getting upset, which is totally fine. It's an impassioned...
I actually don't understand what the fuck you're even talking about.
That's kind of the...
I really don't.
Do you guys want to continue on this prompt, or do you want to move on to something else?
I just want to speak to that specific thing you said. That's kind of one of my issues with Andrewism is you're not attempting to understand what I'm saying in any way. And usually...
I just tried to steel man and you cut me off. When I was trying to steel man your position, you cut me off.
I corrected you because you were steel manning me incorrectly.
Okay, got it. So here's the thing.
Well, if you're going to steel man me, you should probably be correct.
Can we agree
and in
to
a good faith conversation, I want to understand you, and you want to understand me. So let me summarize your position.
Okay, go ahead.
My understanding of your position is that you don't know. You're agnostic as to whether or not the founding fathers wanted, church and state to be blended, but you believe that essentially they allowed the states to do it so that the states could stay religious, and they wrote it at a federal level because they recognized that they would have to compromise, and they couldn't find a good compromisation amongst the states because they're of different religions, correct?
No.
How is that incorrect?
Well, the first part is what you're messing up.
Okay.
It's irrelevant whether or not the signers of the Constitution themselves would have ascribed for a state religion or not.
I think the founding fathers' predilection is important.
What's relevant is what they actually did with the states. The state itself, the prospective states, are as much of import as the federal government. That's what anti-federalists thought. You have a federalist mindset for some reason. You keep on, I understand the disconnect. Disconnect is you keep thinking that federal systems are more important than state systems.
No.
They're definitely not.
Let them finish.
Hang on. Not only are they definitely not, but that's where the disconnect is. Here's what's actually happening. There was a compromise that was done. The compromise was that there was no possible way that Catholics over here were going to recognize the oaths of Protestants over there. Not if the federal government was making the demand that you had to be X thing in order to swear an oath or do a thing. So what they did instead was they said, what we're going to do is we're not going to implement a nationalized religion. The prospective states instead are going to be able to implement whatever religious institutions that they want. They were perfectly fine with them blending church and state. Yes, perfectly fine with it.
Do you think they preferred it?
Many of them, yes.
So why didn't they write it into the federal constitution?
I don't know how else to explain it. Like I
so
actually
you're just
don't.
saying
I don't even know how to explain it.
Maybe a prompt switch. Maybe a prompt switch. I think we should probably do.
I want to clarify two things. I want to clarify.
Maybe a prompt switch could be good.
Well, sure.
Maybe
the issue is, I don't know if you want to have a good faith conversation or not. It seems like the answer is no, because in a good faith conversation, we're both trying to understand the most coherent version of one another's opinions. We're trying to actually understand.
Why did you just ask me explain it to me when I just explained it to you?
What?
You said, then explain to me why they did that. And I'm like, I just explained to you why they did that.
So again, then I was going to say my next argument against that.
Yeah.
Right? Which is that you're telling me that the founding fathers and all of their intelligence and all of their battling and their ability to do so much, like found America,
is being deliberately
figure out a way
ignorant
to compromise amongst the religions if they actually all dominantly preferred a blending, a church and state blending.
Because they're so
they did find a way to do that.
So you're saying they actually did do that sneakily through the 10th Amendment.
It wasn't sneakily, it was upfrontally.
Why wouldn't they just write that in the First Amendment? Why would the First Amendment bar the union of church and state?
Because
if they wanted at a federal level,
what they did was they said, okay, we're not going to implement any religiosity on independent states. We're not going to do that ever.
Why?
Because each independent state gets to have their own religion as part of the compromise that they made with the federal government due to the Articles of Confederation. There's no or.
Yes.
There's no or.
The or here is the more reasonable assumption. The founding fathers wrote in an explicit separation of church and state at a federal level because that's what they wanted. They understood that when you blend church and state, it corrupts not only the nation, which they had just separated from a corrupted nation that was utilizing statecraft and religion, and they recognized that it also corrupted the religion, which there was many issues with the corrupted religion of the Anglican and then Catholic and then Anglican British Church.
No, that's not what happened.
Okay.
What happened, first of all, they had not just done this, okay? They had the Articles of Confederation first. That happened first. And what happened is they were just not able to govern because each state was like a mini kingdom, and they wanted their own currency and their own militaries. Okay, and so for like the common defense, they wanted to have some sort of federalism in order to do this.
Did they unify under one currency?
That was one of the primary reasons they wanted unification was because of a currency.
So why couldn't they unify under one religion?
Because what you wanted was to have trade between each state. Yeah. But when you're talking about their religions, this was pan-Protestant. So there was no unification there.
So they were willing to unify on a whole bunch of stuff, but they just couldn't, for the life of them, figure out a way to unify the religions because they actually did want the church and state to be blended. They wanted the church to have weight and say on statecraft. They just couldn't write it in at the federal level, so they just let states do it.
Well, who's the church?
The church would be the Christian church.
Who?
Christian church.
Who's that?
The Christian church.
Who?
There's multiple branches of it.
Oh, there are?
Yep.
Okay, so because of that, were there multiple branches which had different states they were in?
Probably to some degree, although I imagine a lot of states mostly had a lot of everything. I suspect that a lot of states had
a lot of them had a lot of one thing.
Really?
Really.
Okay, so there was just like the Quaker state.
Yes.
I mean, it was mostly brought up like
the
that.
The Mormon state, but it didn't.
There was some.
Was there
a Mormon
state?
Delineation, but no.
So the thing is,
no. So the thing is like, look, when you look at it, because of pan-Protestantism, each state independently is going to have their own religion. That had nothing to do with them being able to coordinate trade under one currency.
So say if one of those states happened to be Muslim, do you think that they would have been like, woo, they get to have their own religion? Do you think that would have been okay? Or?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so they did want a Christian nation.
Well, no, I think that they were banking on white immigrants not being Muslim.
Sure, but they probably did want a Christian nation, and they had some feelings about the Catholics.
Well, they
and
really,
the Protestants,
I think that
but they recognized that they were more united
I
than
think
say
that they
pagan
just thought
religions.
that most of the immigrants coming in would be Western Europeans, and so not Muslims.
Muslims
so they had
were
but say the founding fathers did have an expectation that that a branch or a sect of paganism was about to be popularized in America. They'd be okay with the state just being some pagan religion, some Nordic pagan religion that a bunch of these white Europeans were appealing
likely
to.
not.
There wasn't. I don't even think that at that time they could have even envisioned.
Sure. Hypothetically, though, if there was, would they have been okay with that?
I think that I don't think there would have been a state-federal compromise if that was the case.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Because I think that the states would have been like, we're not going to allow a Muslim state.
So the federal government would have imposed a religion on them, except
they wouldn't have imposed a religion necessarily.
Wait, they didn't do that. In
They
fact,
would
the federal
excluded
government
one.
explicitly wrote that out.
That would make my point.
That would make my point.
How would it make your point?
Because if the federal government wouldn't be okay with a Muslim government, then they probably should have written in that you have to be a Christian government in some way. They probably could have found something connected amongst all the Christians to ensure
They just did
that
it
the
through
states could be
racialism.
Okay. If that's what you want to.
Were they importing a bunch of brown people from Muslim countries when I wasn't looking or
They're
something?
importing a bunch of black people for slaves. Yeah. And
You
they
mean
had-
the Christians? The ones that they turned into Christians?
A lot of them had pagan religions and African religions that actually a lot of people
That they weren't allowed to practice because they were
and made them
slaves.
convert.
Yeah, they
forced
made
them
them
to convert.
convert.
That worked super great. That's awesome.
Well, whether it worked or not, they still were banking on Christian, yes.
Yeah, they were forcing them in. But
And by the way, they didn't even
By the
see
way-
blacks as being a people at the time.
You're right. So why? So one of the issues is, for example, they write about this. They don't want, for example, black people voting because some of the states were worried about other religions getting in. Yeah, because a lot of the
at
black
the
people
state
held to
level.
pagan religions.
Wait, okay, who wrote about this?
I believe this would have been in like Connecticut. There was a bunch of issues specifically in Connecticut around suffrage of women and suffrage of black people.
When?
I think like 1818. I don't have it on the top of my head.
So long after what we're talking about?
I think like 30 years after what we're talking
So
about.
long after what we're talking about?
Not real. I don't know why.
Really
Wait,
long
why would you
after?
think that that's not relevant?
Because how would that have any relevancy?
Because the founding fathers at the time obviously would have known that the black slaves had their own pagan religion. Wouldn't they be worried,
You
for
mean
example, that the
about
pagan
the
religion
slaves?
spread?
Why would they be worried about the slaves?
They were constantly worried about tyranny of any form. They were constantly worried about select interest groups rising up and taking away power from other people.
And that's why they put in the three-fist clause.
Okay. Wait. Sorry. What are the three-fist clause? Why don't you tell me? Or is that a pop quiz?
That black people only count as 3/5 of the vote?
Right. Oh, 3/5. I heard a different word. I heard I didn't hear 3/5.
Yeah, problem
That's what
solved.
he said, 3/5.
And they were banking on whites coming in from basically Western European nations.
Right. So they actually were a little bit worried about black pagan tyranny. They just wrote it out of the Constitution.
Well, they were worried about southern states being able to outvote northern states.
They were worried in general. So goes back to suffrage, right? If you look, for example, at Hamilton's writing of suffrage, which is really important, it's one of the founding documents.
I don't know what the fuck this has to do with what we're talking about.
Voting?
Yeah, what does this have to do with the fact that you still haven't acknowledged that the whole reason that there was this compromise which happened and that the federal government said, from our perspective, we're going to leave this up to the states via the 10th Amendment, is literally because they wanted to allow the states to put in whatever religious institutions they wanted.
Each state had their own
right?
religion.
The Federalist.
No, they weren't. They
So the
didn't
federal
have the
government-
purview to tell the
Wait,
states that.
Yeah, so the federal government would have been opposed. Is that what you're saying? They would have actually been opposed to a secular state. Like if a state just got rid of all of the religious clauses that it had, would that be okay?
Under the purview of the 10th Amendment, states could do that.
Yeah, you're right. It's
And?
almost like the founding fathers didn't care about blending church and state. They actually cared about separation of powers. So if you want to ask me about the suffrage stuff, the reason why the suffrage stuff is relevant is because when they were talking about voting is really important as far as like stakeholders. This is what Hamilton and Madison talk a lot about, right? The voter
Okay.
has to be somebody with a high stakeholder in the country. And they were constantly afraid that votes could get utilized in such a way that select interest groups could tyrannize other interest groups, right? Which is why they had lots of separations of power, like the separation of church and state.
At the federal level.
Which they cared a lot about.
At the federal level.
You're right.
The thing not in dispute.
Yeah, so when we're talking, so the thing that's in dispute here is I'm saying America and the founding fathers wanted a separation of church and state.
At the federal level.
Yep.
So what?
Care about it at the
I think
level.
the federal level
This
is pretty
was
important.
never in
Is
dispute.
America important? Is America federal?
It's both.
So
State
what
and
matters?
federal.
What matters more when we're talking
There
about
is
like
no
federal
more.
policy?
The system completely doesn't work unless you have both
Does
state
the
and
federal
federal.
government
You
have
need to have
hierarchy
both
over the
laws.
state?
No.
Yes, on everything that the
No.
federal government has decided has hierarchy over
Yeah,
the state.
so the federal government has hierarchy over the state. Over everything, the federal government has the powers of hierarchy over the state.
has
with.
decided to have power.
So by that
over.
same logic, does the state have hierarchy over the federal government?
No, because if the federal government, for example, decided to overimpose on the state, they would fight it in court.
Then why are all these federal judges
It's obviously
Exactly.
no.
Yes.
Yes.
stopping the
That's not even how the
federal?
system works. The states, prospectively, can override the federal government on all sorts of issues. When it comes to the
Yes.
10th Amendment, that's what it's there for. That's the separation of powers you're talking about.
Yeah, it's
what
one
you
of the
just said
separations
was
of powers.
incoherent. If it's the case that you say the federal government, yes, they have authority over the states based on everything they have the authority over the states with. It's like, sure, but the same thing applies to the state. What you're talking about, when you say more or less important, that's not even a coherent question. That wouldn't even be the same system. It would be a completely different system.
So if the federal government decides to go to war and draft people, can the states do anything about that?
Under current law, I don't think they can.
Okay, gotcha. And if the federal government, for example, decided to send the National Guard into Minnesota, have they been able to do that?
Only to federal buildings, yes.
Well, there's
Yeah,
more than
only
that,
to
but
federal
No,
buildings.
where?
No.
The
where?
National Guard has been set in to just control riots generally across
When?
California. I mean, this year.
Only federal
Only to
buildings.
federal buildings.
I mean, they go into crowds.
Only
and
to
disperse
federal
crowds, like,
buildings.
outside
In front of federal
buildings.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So the federal government just can actually impose into a state
On federal property?
in like limited ways. Yeah, of course.
Can they go in? Can the federal government go occupy the state building?
Gee.
No.
Okay, then what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Some people are just so smart they become stupid.
These are seven
sometimes
of the
just
most
because they want to make an
insane
argument.
creatures in all of the Bible.
Ay. Our retards to think if Mexico asks the U.S. military for support, it means the war in Iran will be affected. They have no idea the size of the... Yeah. They really don't. They really don't. The videos of EU people that are surprised that US would basically take on all of Europe. His mom knows Savannah's awake. Charlie's death are vile. Well, you don't have to like someone, but cheering on their death should be a one-way ticket to the box. Agreed. Whatever the box is. What in the world?
Estoy bien, estoy bien. ¿Estás sudando? Mira, güey, nomás se me quedó aquí la puta ojiva, hija de su puta madre, güey. Casi me
He
carga
stopped
la
the
verga,
bullet in
¿viste?
his mouth.
Mira, me pelaron la verga, güey. ¿Tiraste? Sí, güey, aventé, güey.
That skimmed his wrist. That is crazy. Is it a case?
Sí, güey. Casi me carga la verga, me carga, güey. Casi me carga la verga, ¿viste?
Inside, not.
Me pelaron la verga, güey.
Yeah, let's. I don't know. No positions and won't be kicked out of the club by peers. Okay, to it, but not a firing. Oh gosh.
Don't do politics. Everything. If you're a VTuber hopeful right here, right now, I just want to let you know, don't do politics. Don't talk about politics. You know, maybe Lucy shouldn't even be talking about politics as much as I guess she kind of sort of is maybe a little bit right now. But don't do it. Don't do it. You know, like making a couple jokes here and there is fine. Don't do politics. Everything.
I guess that's her. His agency uses handcuffed man's head back against brick wall. What? Yeah, so they get more traffic to their page.
stop, because that's hella rude. That's so rude.
Help me visit them. He's right here.
Oh, they're so worried about the kids now. You don't have to eat fast. Take your time.
You have help.
Why do I have to help? You want me to eat some? Just take your time and eat them. So, yeah, you got plenty of time. Slow down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, your mouth is full. You got too many. It's oh, good. Or what's her name? I think I watched this shoe on her video already the other day. I'm pretty sure I did and commented on it. Truth about Erica Kirk they don't want you to hear. Let's see.
They claim that Kirk is banned from Romania after being accused of child trafficking. Is this right?
For people to think that Erica Kirk is somehow in a pedophilic ring or something of that nature is so bizarre and evil, is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notifications anytime I go live and make a video. Y'all already know.
Take it easy. Eat them slow. You got time.
Let's get into this.
They say, you know, a week is a long time in politics, and how things have changed just in the past 2 years. And, you know, one of the things that just makes you really stand out is that you've actually been consistent in your values and speaking out about them. And one of those areas has been as parts of the right have descended into the pit of anti-Semitism and crazed conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff, particularly around Erica Kirk, which is just insane. And so my question is, before we talk about the specific figures and understand what's going on there, let's just try and just zoom out for a second. What is your assessment as to why this has happened? Why are we seeing all this anti-Semitism and anti-Israel rhetoric rising on the right, conservative right now? Because I always thought, well, it's always going to be much more of a problem on the left because it can cover itself in virtue. I just care about the Palestinians, you know, so that can go on the New York Times. But, you know, neo-Nazi stuff isn't going to get a seat on Fox News because it's just culturally unacceptable. But slowly, it's kind of coming more in there.
I think it's really the devil. I think the devil has captured the minds of a lot of people, and it doesn't matter what side you're on.
You better
if you're
listen.
captured. That means on this side you weaponize empathy. On this side you have your weaponization on this side as well. No matter if you're right or left. I mean, if you believe in God and you have a relationship with God, you read your
Here's
Bible.
your turtles.
If you're reading
You
reading the Torah or the Bible, like the Christian Bible, where we have, you know, the New Testament and the Old Testament together. If you're reading the book, is no way on God's green earth that you can have the perception and you can look at the world like the far left or the far right. To have these unjustifiable, unverified claims against Israel is asinine. For people to think that Erica Kirk is somehow in a pedophilic ring or something of that nature is so bizarre and evil, is crazy to me. If you're interested, if you're a bourbon drinker, I'm not telling you to go and drink the whole bottle, but you're a bourbon drinker, you like to sip on it every now and again, this is the best bourbon you will buy. You will never in your life find a bourbon this smooth, this flavorful, this full body for $59.99. You will never, I promise you. If you somehow do it, I'll give your money back.
Wow,
There's the guilty and not
bourbon.
guilty. The guilty is a straight bourbon, 6-year aged, and the not guilty is 6-year aged, but it's with the hint of brown sugar in it, and it's absolutely phenomenal to
Brown
sip
sugar
right
one's
over
probably
rocks.
good, but
And
yeah.
also, you could take
No
it
alcohol
and
for
put it in
me.
an old fashioned. Let's get to a couple reviews. If you look at the reviews, you can see what people are thinking. Majority of these are 5 stars. Are 5. You must be 21 and you must drink
5 bars.
responsibly. For people to think that Erica Kirk is somehow in a pedophilic ring or something of that nature is so bizarre and evil, is crazy to me. And, you know, because Erica works with our church when it comes to sex trafficking rescue. She's been connected to our church when it comes to sex trafficking rescue. We have the biggest sex trafficking rescue. I could say the facility is one of the biggest. The movement that we have at our church, Dream City Church, is the biggest in the country. And and my wife and I donate and support the church in it. We know they're not doing nothing crazy. Luke Barnett is our pastor. Tommy Barnett has established Dream City Church, the Dream Center, and all this for the last, I don't know how many years. He's 80 years old now and still preaching and still in the movement. So for people to insinuate certain things, it's got to be either evil. Well, it's evil to start with, but I think that they're being influenced by the devil. I cannot see that anyone with common sense or relationship with God would even believe what they believe. You know, the Israel thing is crazy to me. I don't understand, dude. Like, you cannot like what Israel is doing as a government. I don't like what our government do half of the time. That's totally normal and fine. You can have critiques of the war, right? You say, you can have your critiques on Benjamin Netanyahu, the execution of the war. You can say, I don't like the fact that the war lasted that long. I think that, you know, you can have your critiques, but people that go far beyond that to say that the Jews run America, the Jews did 9/11, the Jews can't win. Like, the Jews killed Jesus. It goes down this crazy rabbit hole that I think is insane to me, to be quite.
I obviously completely agree. And as you can see, my dear viewers, you can see how courageous and morally clear Brandon is about all of this. And you're such a breath of fresh air. Let's unpack this a bit more. First of all, you're saying that it's evil and it's the devil. I mean, I very much resonate with that. But is there a way that we can diagnose that a bit more in terms of how it manifests? Because the Satan will utilize the most negative emotions within us. And, you know, so what kind of emotions do you think are driving this? Like, is it resentment, envy? You know, what's driving that? And what is the pathway for people who are stuck in this rut to help people come out of that and see the light?
Yeah, I think Satan is very cunning. Satan is not, in my opinion, this red figure with bull horns on his head. Satan manifested in the Garden of Eden as a serpent, very cunning. And Satan uses elements of truth to then expose a bigger manipulation into a lie, right? Where, you know, when Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden and Satan said, if you eat from this forbidden tree, your eyes will be open to good and evil, right? And you will become like God. He wasn't lying. But what he didn't tell them was what was the negative effects and how would that terminate the existence of humanity, and now we're headed towards a path of death. He gave a little bit of truth in order to manipulate a person into a complete devastating lie. And I think that the devil will work with whatever abilities a person has in order to help them be the best manipulator that they can. Some people are operating off envy. Some people are operating off jealousy. Some people are operating on revenge. Some people are operating on pure evilness. And it just really depends on the person and what their attributes are that the devil can use it to his advantage. So they can, they're essentially working together with different talents. It's almost like the Avengers of hatred and evilness that's destroying our country, your country. I mean, I don't know if you live in the UK, but it's destroying the world, in my personal opinion. And the only way out is to have a real relationship with God. That's the only way out of this for people. And if people don't believe in God, they have no chance anyway. But if you believe in God, the only way out is to really take your own biases aside, pick up the book and read what the Lord said. Read what the prophets said. Read what Abraham said, the promises to Abraham. You read your Bible, and it should give you a perspective to come out of the rut. A lot of this, and I'll say, and I hate to say this, but I believe this with my whole heart. It starts from hatred of Israel, and everything devolves from there. You are susceptible to any lie.
Go on. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Yeah, so like when I watched the denigration of influencers that I used to like, that I thought at one point were very prominent and reasonable, and I see the denigration that don't just involve Israel alone. It degrades to falsehoods and false realities and manipulation in every other aspect of society. And I think it all starts from hatred of Israel. I think it all starts from turning your back on God and God's people, and then God opens you to a reprobated mind, which means that you're then susceptible to any conspiracy and any lie and any level of deception that's out there that a person can be involved with or be manipulated by. I see the same people that hate Israel and have an unjustifiable hatred towards Israel, that they then are creating falsehoods about Donald Trump and about the government. And they're overzealous about Epstein. And they're talking about Erica Kirk and believing lies about, they don't even believe that we got the killer in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Like, it's just, you see it devolve on every single level. And the behavior is not academic. It's not reasonable with empathy. It's hatred. It's revenge. It's narcissism. You see these traits coming out of just very mean-spirited behavior by everyone that I've seen that's involved in the starting point of hating Israel unjustifiably.
Whatever we liberate, we keep. It's funny. Cartels operated national security threat. 100% of travel and immigration from Mexico should be shut down immediately.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Shauna Kalafi. We are following some developing news out of Mexico. Today, the Mexican army says they killed a powerful cartel leader during an operation meant to capture him. The Defense Department says the leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel was wounded during that operation about 2 hours from Guadalajara, and he later died while he was being flown to Mexico City. And this is a very powerful cartel there in Mexico. The leader now killed by the Mexican army, according to the Defense Department there. For more on this story, let's bring in Chris Dalby. He is an investigative journalist and author of CJNG, A Guide to Mexico's Deadliest Cartel. Thank you so much for being here, Chris.
It's an absolute pleasure, Shauna. Thank you for having me.
So you actually wrote a book about this particular cartel, the CJNG. The Associated Press calls it the most powerful cartel in Mexico. The U.S. Deputy Secretary of State described the leader as one of the most ruthless drug kingpins in the world. Can you tell us more about this?
Absolutely. If you've heard about the worst of Mexican cartel violence, the most abhorrent acts, the bodies, the decapitated corpses, the videos, a lot of that begins with the CJNG. El Mencho is one of the most influential drug kingpins in the last 30 years. I would put him at the same level as Pablo Escobar and El Chapo when it comes to the quantity of drugs that his organization has moved in Mexico, in the United States, and further abroad. He is directly and indirectly responsible for the deaths of thousands of people in Mexico and through drugs in the United States. The problem is that while he absolutely deserved to face justice, removing him removes the man who kept the CJNG united. And while the CJNG is extremely violent, by far the most violent cartel in Mexico, removing him will likely lead to 5 or 6 of his lieutenants turning on each other and ramping up the level of violence to perhaps record levels in Mexico to control the CJNG empire.
And that's exactly what I was going to ask you. Now that he's dead, what does that mean for this operation? Who takes the lead? And will there be maybe more retaliation from the cartel now that this has happened?
You know, President Trump has rightly designated Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations. And El Mencho had a bounty on his head of $50 million for anyone giving information that led to his capture. As I said, El Mencho needed to face justice. But the kingpin strategy, as we call it, which is where you focus on removing the kingpin, the head of the cartel, and that's your sole focus, has a major problem. Because the kingpins are often the ones controlling an organization. And when they are removed, and we've seen it with Escobar, we've seen it with El Chapo, and we're going to see it with El Mencho, that unifying force, that cult of personality goes away. There are 5 or 6 leaders of the CJNG, which I identify in my book, who all have significant manpower, drug trafficking potential, contacts in the US, money laundering options, and incredible finances and weaponry that they will absolutely use if they think that they can claim a piece, if not all, of the CJNG. To my knowledge, El Mencho didn't pick a successor. To my knowledge, El Mencho didn't go to his lieutenants and say, when I die, when I'm arrested, this is the next guy. He may have done, but we certainly have no information as to that. So right now, what we're seeing in Mexico, the immediate response is what we call the narco blockades or the narco bloqueos. This happens a lot when these top guys are removed. And the cartel wants to make a big show of, you know, burning cars and blocking highways and blocking access to the airport. That often goes away within a few days, especially because the area in which they're being violent, Guadalajara, one of the biggest cities in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, a place that millions of Americans go to on holiday, is where the government is absolutely going to want to show
Honestly,
we're not
never heard
letting
of
the
that
cartel
area until
dominate
today.
this for long. After that, across Mexico, there are so many criminal economies that the CJNG was involved with. We're talking about tens of billions of dollars in criminal earnings that are now up for grabs.
Right now, we're showing some video, but you just mentioned those cars set on fire, the killing of this powerful drug lord, setting off hours of roadblocks with those burning vehicles, both in Jalisco and other states. Can you talk a little bit more about this tactic that is commonly used by the cartels to block these military operations? How big of a scale is this? We also want to show a little bit of those images of the smoke that arose from these multiple car fires today. What do you take from this reaction from the cartel, and what more can we expect?
So information coming to me in the last hour has suggested that there's been some movement there. Yes, in the hours immediately after El Mencho died, gunmen took to the streets, imposed a curfew on much of Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta. Again, these are cities in Jalisco. This is their home turf. This is where we can expect a stronger reaction. But there were videos of gunmen at the airport. That appears to have been substantiated, but that situation appears to have been resolved. Police and army were able to retake control of Guadalajara Airport. We don't have information about casualties yet, but the gunmen never reached the tarmac. We're seeing videos shared online of burning planes or, you know, the whole city on fire. Those are seem to be fake news. In Puerto Vallarta, the cruise port appears to have had a fire set there, preventing access. But again, those situations could probably be resolved in the next few hours to days, with perhaps some casualties, but a limited number. The problem is that Guadalajara is going to be a World Cup city in 5 months. Puerto Vallarta is one of the biggest tourism destinations in Mexico and a constant place that Americans visit. That sort of reputational damage takes months or years to recover from. So what the CJNG has done here is, in an outburst of violence that might be controlled, create long-lasting economic ramifications for Mexico and the United States. I don't expect the violence in the medium to long term to be in the cities. I expect it to be in rural Mexico, in small town Mexico, where the drugs are going through, where the fentanyl is being manufactured, where the migrants are being smuggled, where the oil is being stolen. Because those are the areas where there are no tourists, there are few cameras, and the violence can happen almost with impunity. And that is a problem that Mexico is going to have to figure out. And I don't know to what extent the US government is going to be interested in helping them, because the US was very focused on El Mencho. What happens next is open for debate.
And the Defense Department says that during this
Little spaz dude.
They claim that Kirk is banned from Romania after.
Here.
I don't even know if the Jalisco cartel is going to survive in its present form, because it is now very tempting for these lieutenants to go out on their own, either to maintain their own operations and keep the money, or to try and take control of the entire CJNG empire.
Chris, we really appreciate your insight here. Anything else that you want to point out about this cartel, the significance of what happened today in Mexico, or what you're going to be watching moving forward here?
Yeah, I want to make one thing very, very clear. While Almencho, again, needed to face justice as one of the most influential drug traffickers in the history of North America, his removal in itself doesn't stop the drug flow. His removal will weaken one cartel temporarily. There are always more kingpins. There are always more drug traffickers. The demand for drugs in the United States and the potential for criminal violence and enrichment in Mexico is such that within a few weeks to a few months, that situation is going to be normalized. So removing Almencho is a positive step, but it can cause more instability, and that instability can cause more violence, and that violence can cause a greater amount of drugs and a greater amount of money for the cartels. So net positive, I'm not sure we can say that.
No.
We will definitely be watching to see what comes next. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your insight here, Chris.
Maybe long term.
My pleasure, Shauna.
And we do want to show you this. This is from Air Canada just a few hours ago on X. They said due to an ongoing security situation in Puerto Vallarta impacting the Vallarta airport, Air Canada has temporarily suspended operations there today. We are monitoring the situation and in contact with local authorities who are working to resolve the issue. So violence erupting there in Mexico today after the Mexican army.
Ladies and gentlemen, regarding the current situation with Iran and the Iranian regime therein, things are pretty much right this very moment unfolding at light speed right now. But I'll tell you what, as things currently seem, the Iranian regime is about to learn a very difficult lesson, courtesy of none other than President Trump. So today, we're going to break down every single component of this, admittedly, very complex situation, starting with, to kick this off, some statements from emissary Steve Witkoff from earlier this morning regarding the Trump administration's demands of the Iranian regime. Take a look at this.
I think the president he gave Jared and I direction before we went over there. There were red lines, zero enrichment. We have to have the material back. You know, they say that it's all about their civil program, and yet they've been enriching well beyond the number that you need for civil nuclear. It's up to 60%. They're probably a week away from having industrial grade bomb making material, and that's really dangerous.
Yeah,
so can't have that. This is something that they have to stick with until they prove to us that they can behave.
I know.
Okay, so let's kind of break down the way that this works. If you want to have a civilian, nuclear energy program, you need to enrich uranium up to around 3.6, 3.7%. Iran, we know for a very long time, has had the capacity and has also been actively enriching uranium. We know that they've already done it up to around 60%, perhaps even higher. The way this works, any uranium enriched beyond or above 20%, if you have enough of it, you can make a nuclear weapon. So the lower percent above 20, if you stockpile enough of it, you can technically, if you are so inclined, you can make an active nuclear weapon. The more enriched the uranium is, the less you need. And so this is why if you look back to Barack Obama's JCPOA, the nuclear deal he made with Iran, this is back in 2015, Barack Obama imposed two rules in accordance with this deal. He said, you're not allowed to enrich uranium beyond 3.67, So you can have a nuclear power program, but not nuclear weapons. Additionally, you're not allowed to stockpile more than, I believe it was 300 kilograms. So it was a stockpile limit and it was an enrichment limit. Now, this deal was obviously terrible. It was effectively just a 15-year, $2.2 trillion bribe to the Iranians to not make a nuclear weapon, at which point, after the 15-year sunset clause kicked in, they could have done so if they wanted. This is why when Trump got back into the White House, when he got in the White House the first time in 2018, Trump ripped up this deal, said, this is a ridiculous deal. We're not going to pay the Iranians $2.2 trillion by lifting our sanctions, at the end of which they can make as much enriched uranium as they want. Trump said this is an incompetent deal. So that's why we kind of are in the situation we're in now. Now, Trump, he has two demands for the Iranian regime as things currently stand. No ballistic missiles and no uranium enrichment at all. 0%. With Obama, you got 3.67. Now it's 0. You have lost the privilege to enrich uranium. Now it's 0, plus no ballistic missiles. And they've been talking about this. They've been debating this. And the Iranian regime has refused to capitulate to President Trump's demands. The Iranian regime, they want to enrich uranium. They want to have an enriched uranium stockpile. And also, they want to have their ballistic missiles. Which brings us to our next clip here. Take a listen.
I know that we have red lines here from the U.S. How about over with Iran?
The president asked me that this morning, and I don't want to use the word frustrated. It's almost because he understands he's got plenty of alternatives. But it's curious. He's curious as to why they haven't, I don't want to use the word capitulated, but why they haven't capitulated. Why under this sort of pressure with the amount of sea power, naval power that we have over there, why they haven't come to us and said, we profess that we don't want a weapon, so here's what we're prepared to do. And yet it's hard to sort of get them to that place.
So this is Witkoff, Trump's envoy, special envoy to the Middle East, actually talking to President Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, saying, right now, Trump is confused. Trump is kind of dumbfounded. We have an insane amount of military pressure right now, huge military presence in the Middle East. We have a carrier battle group. A second carrier battle group is going to be there very soon. We've got over 1,000 Tomahawk missiles and submarines and destroyers and cruisers and military bases. The pressure is insane on Iran right now. Why have they not agreed to our terms? Trump is saying, what's going on here? Well, if you are a logical, good faith, sound of mind debater or negotiator, you need to keep in mind, not everybody shares your perspective. Sometimes you are attempting to negotiate with somebody, or in this case, a regime that is literally insane. You can't negotiate with an insane person, or in this case, an insane regime. And that might be the case. We have a report coming out of the Associated Press today saying the Iranians have now come to the conclusion that the only way that they can stop this cycle of war is to draw blood and to inflict significant harm on the U.S. and Israel, even if that comes at a very high price for themselves. So, per the Associated Press, the Iranian regime is willing to go a little bit kamikaze mode. They're willing to suffer a catastrophic amount of damage on themselves if it means inflicting a wound on Israel or the United States. They're willing to make this sort of lopsided trade. If they've got to shed a gallon of blood just to get one drop of blood out of us, maybe they're willing to do it. This is insane. These people are perhaps insane. Well, there's something to keep in mind here. I was actually reading a special report talking about this. Okay. When we're talking about the Iranian regime, we need to keep in mind what exactly is their mindset here. Well, the Iranian regime is effectively a radically Islamic theocracy at its core. That is their form of government, okay? Their government, their regime is led by a bunch of radically Islamic theocratic zealots. They have, to say the least, very strong religious convictions. The regime that is running this government is a special sect of Islam called the Twelver Shia Islam. It's sort of a special sect of Islam. They have a very specific end times prophecy that may be influencing their behavior right now. Like I said, very strong religious convictions. In essence, What the leaders of the Iranian regime believe is in something called the hidden imam, a religious leader who will reappear at the end times, whenever the end times are, when all hope seems to be lost. And this hidden imam, this sort of prophetic religious leader, will pop up and deliver his followers, effectively deliver his followers a victory, effectively defeating the forces of evil, as it's described, and establishing a new divine rule following a sort of judgment day sort of scenario. This is what the leaders of Iran believe. Like I said, they're a part of this sect called the 12 or Shia Islam sect, Islam sect. And worth noting, in this case, of course, they believe that the forces of evil are the United States and Israel. This might be influencing their behavior. So if they believe that all of this, what's currently going on right now in the Middle East, is some sort of radical Islamic judgment day sort of prophecy, needless to say, they're probably not going to be acting rationally or negotiating in a way that we are going to understand or appreciate. They're not thinking, they're not acting in good faith, or at least in a cohesive thought process here. But okay, moving on from that, I just want to try to understand what is their logic, because we said Trump is confused. He doesn't understand why they've not surrendered. Well, I think a lot of it comes back to their religious dogma. Really, I think that's why. And so this is why just last night we saw, take a look at this, an absolutely massive U.S. Air Force air bridge to support future strikes on Iran continued overnight, with dozens of airlifters moving additional air defense assets and munitions from the U.S. across the Atlantic. We're going to play the video here. Down across Europe and in the Middle East. This is ongoing, just massive relocation of military equipment and military hardware. This is what has gone on in the last couple hours. Relocating a huge amount of equipment. Now, to put all of this sort of military equipment relocation into perspective here, we're going to take a listen to what an individual, his name is James Farnell. He's a retired U.S. Navy captain. He made an appearance on Bannon's War Room talking about where really are we going here?
Your assessment of where we stand with this, as President Trump refers to a vast armada.
Well, Steve, I think right now we're seeing, as you said, all the chess pieces are getting into the region, into the EUCOM, European Command, and Central Command's area of responsibility. So from the Eastern Mediterranean down into the Gulf of Oman. Over on Friday night, was reported that the USS Gerald R. Ford and its carrier battle group had went through, transited through the Strait of Gibraltar and is now in the Mediterranean Sea. And the latest reporting from on air asset updates, we basically have over 350 combat aircraft that are in the region, both afloat and ashore. And more importantly, we have over 100 tankers, which allows our combat aircraft, the F-16s, the F-22s, the Strike Eagle F-15s, the F/A-18s, and the F-35s that have shorter range. Those tankers on your screen can get now fuel to be able to sustain what is called air supremacy over a combat area. Normally, we talk about air superiority, which is a temporal time and space where you have combat air control over a geographic area. But air supremacy is where you can control the air at all times in that whole geographic region for a sustained long period of time. And so it seems to me that we are moving in and preparing our forces for air supremacy. And I would just say to Mr. Haas, who talked about managing, if we do a strike, we'll have to manage some kind of a deal with the Iranians. No, we're not going to manage anything. We're going to come in, and if President Trump decides to use military force, we will destroy Iran's military, 100% of it. We will take down their SRBMs, their medium-range ballistic missiles, and their naval forces and their remaining little air forces that they have, and their air defense forces. And we will sit over the top of Iran and call fires down on anybody that tries to shoot off an air defense missile or a ballistic missile. They may get off one or two here and there, but they're not going to be able to sustain any kind of campaign against our allies in the region and against our forces. And
so to be very clear, President Trump, right now, we're seeing all of this military equipment and hardware relocate to the Middle East because President Trump is preparing to deliver a fatal series of airstrikes. Right now, he just said we've got 3 times more aircraft in the region than we did in June during Operation Midnight Hammer. This is the single largest buildup in the Middle East since the Iraq invasion in 2003. Absolutely massive. However, there's something I want to say here, and this is very important. This must be said. As a reminder here, as we're talking about all of this, one thing must be made very clear. President Trump has absolutely precisely zero interest in a massive American boots on the ground operation. Right now, with what we're talking about pertaining to Iran, we are talking about an air superiority campaign exclusively, not a massive troop deployment, boots on the ground, 2003 style war on terror type of dynamic. President Trump is vehemently opposed to that. Over the last 2 months or so, I know. In fact, I want to show you something here. Over the last 2 months or so, that this entire situation with Iran has re-escalated. President Trump and Trump's White House have gone to the media numerous times saying explicitly that boots on the ground are not going to happen. And I've put together this collage with a couple different instances here, 4 different media articles going back about a month and a half. No boots on the ground. We're not interested in boots on the ground. Trump is not interested in boots on the ground. We're not doing boots on the ground. Very clear message. No boots on the ground. So we know that Trump is not interested in this. What's more, according to President Trump's 2025 going into 2026 national security strategy, as well as the Department of War's 2026 national defense strategy, all of which is publicly available. You can go Google that and read it if you want. We know for a fact that Trump actually not only has no intention of boots on the ground in the Middle East, Trump wants out of the Middle East. Trump wants to pull the U.S. entirely out of the Middle East. But that in order to make that happen, according to the national security strategy and the Department of War's national defense strategy, in order to actually withdraw U.S. presence from that region of the world, in order to bring our approximately 45,000 troops home, fun fact, right this moment, spread out across the entire Middle East, we have around 45,000 troops right now in the Middle East. Trump wants them back in order to bring these men and women back and also to hand off operational control of the Middle East to our partners in the region. As part of this pullout, it's been determined that the Iranian regime's capacity to destabilize the region and project power across that region has got to be shut down. So Trump has determined in order to actually pull the U.S. back out, we're done in the Middle East, we're done in the sandbox, we're going to pass off control to our partners and allies. But in order to make that happen, according to the White House and Department of War documentation, at least, we've got to effectively shut down Iran. We cannot allow Iran to be launching off ballistic missiles and rockets and funding terror cells across the region and enriching uranium and maintaining the capacity to develop a nuclear bomb. So we've got to shut that down, and then we're out. Then we're passing it off. So just to be very clear, what we are seeing President Trump do right now with this pressure, with this operation that seems to be looming on the horizon with Iran, this is President Trump's exit strategy. Trump is doing all this to get us out. Trump wants nothing to do with the Middle East. We have also seen today, this is coming from former deputy commander of CENTCOM, which is the region in which Iran and Israel, it's the Middle Eastern region, is called CENTCOM. The U.S. now has the capacity to dismantle the Iranian regime's power structure, quote, in a matter of hours. The U.S. can shatter the Iranian regime's power structure in a matter of hours, per the former deputy commander of CENTCOM. And, you know, I would tend to believe that. Now, I want to share with you folks something very interesting that popped up on the timeline late last night. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a gentleman, this is him here. His name is John Kiriakou. He's a CIA whistleblower. Late last night, he said that a White House source told him that President Trump has decided to engage Iran on Monday or Tuesday. Now, this individual here, John Kiriakou, has an interesting background. Some of you might be familiar with him. John Kiriakou here, I'm going to put this up on the big screen. That's him. He's a former CIA officer who became actually the first CIA whistleblower to confirm the CIA's use of waterboarding as a means of interrogation. So he's an old school CIA whistleblower, former CIA officer. He was actually prosecuted during the Obama administration for leaking classified information. He pled guilty in 2012 to leaking classified information. Then he spent 23 months in a federal prison. So the reason I give you this guy's background is because, I don't know, maybe he does know what's about to happen. Maybe his information is legitimate. He's been prosecuted as a whistleblower. He went to federal prison for leaking classified information. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because this is going viral right now. He says Trump is going to attack Iran on Monday or Tuesday. We'll take a look at the video here.
I have a friend, former CIA officer, who was at the White House this morning talking to his friends. And he says that a decision has been made to attack Iran on Monday or Tuesday. The president yesterday gave the Iranians 10 days to accept our proposals for an end to their ballistic missile program, an end to their uranium enrichment program, an end to supporting groups in the Middle East like Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. But he's done this before. Well, he'll give you 10 days, he'll give you 2 weeks, and then he'll just attack 2 days into it.
And by the way, with Operation Midnight Hammer, that right there is actually literally what happened. Trump said that he's going to give the Iranian regime he said he was going to give him 2 weeks to come to the table and work out a deal. 2 days after saying that, the B-2 Spirit stealth bombers were dropping 50,000-pound bunker buster bombs on all of the Iranian regime's nuclear enrichment facilities. That's what happened over the summer.
He thinks that keeps people off balance. And so he said that there are battle lines, that the anti-war forces are J.D. Vance and Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh.
He said that
That's it?
That's it. He said the pro-war people are led by Marco Rubio and include Pete Hegseth and now the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
So once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is all part of the puzzle here. We're trying to make sense. Take this with a grain of salt. Take this with a grain of salt. We're just trying to get dots on the plot. We got to get the dots on the plot to figure out what's going on. This guy's source might be bogus. He might be bogus himself. I gave you his history. I just want to get that out there. He could be wrong. He could be right. What he says, according to his source, is that J.D. Vance and DNI Tulsi Gabbard, they do not want to intervene in Iran, but that Marco Rubio, well, literally everybody else does. So there's perhaps, allegedly, a little bit of a struggle inside of the Trump administration right now. Forces pushing back and forth.
And I stopped him on that point this morning. And I said, wait a minute. I said, during the Iraq War, at the start of the Iraq War, the most stridently anti-war component was the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They were always the last ones that wanted to attack because they know what war is. And he said, but you forget. Trump has replaced all of the Joint Chiefs this year, in the past 12 months, which I had forgotten. Any of these four-star generals who, had worked their way up through the ranks, but had served under Biden, he fired all of them. All of them. And he promoted people that he knew would be politically loyal.
Do you think this is to distract from the current scandal?
Probably in part, yeah.
How about them saying they're going to release the UFO files last night, which I've wanted released forever, but
this is also one of these current conspiracies. I haven't really talked about this too much because, frankly, I kind of don't care. But 2 days ago, Trump said that they were going to release all the information about aliens and UFOs, and he directed the Department of War, Hegseth, to release everything about aliens. I kind of personally don't care about aliens, but one of the ideas right now, generally coming from the left, is that, well, of course, Trump is only releasing these alien files because he's about to bomb Iran and he wants to divert everybody's attention away from Iran, where he's going to be dropping bombs here any day now. He wants to have everybody talking about aliens as a diversion. I don't really think that's the case. And frankly, I don't also personally kind of don't care about aliens. But anyway, that's what this individual is talking about. So allegedly, according to this former CIA officer and whistleblower, Trump is going to be dropping bombs here. He's going to give the order. We're dropping bombs in Iran on Monday or Tuesday of next week. Now, think about the timeline here, though. The State of the Union national address is on Tuesday night. That's February 24th. It is difficult for me to imagine that Trump is going to give the go-ahead order one day before or maybe the day of the State of the Union. If anything, I would imagine he would wait till after the State of the Union. But time will tell. Listen, who knows? Who knows? Here's a curious question, though. What is the Iranian regime's response to all of this speculation, all this rhetoric? Why don't we break this down? Well, first, plot on the point here. Iran believes U.S. strikes are imminent despite ongoing nuclear talks, according to 6 senior officials and 3 IRGC members. All armed forces in Iran right now are on maximum alert and prepping for a forceful response. This is coming out of the New York Times. We saw also similarly, Iran earlier this morning is deploying ballistic missile launchers along its western border with Iraq and its southern coast on the Persian Gulf, placing U.S. bases within striking distance of these Iranian ballistic missile launchers. So Iran is pre-positioning. Seems like they think something is coming. We have another report here coming out of the New York Times. The supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, has taken measures this morning to ensure the regime's survival via naming 4 layers of succession for each of the military command and government roles that he appoints, getting each senior official to name not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 replacements for their role should they get blown up, should they die. So I did a quick search into this. How many Iranian senior officials are there? How many people are we talking about? Well, the best approximation here is that there are around 30 or so senior officials within the Iranian government. So that puts this entire layered leadership structure, including all of the potential replacements, 4 replacements per 1 member. There's 30 members of senior leadership, right around, what is that? Around 150 people in total that the U.S. would need to take out, for lack of a better word, if it is our objective to carry out a decapitation strike against the entire Iranian leadership structure. You've got 30 primary senior officials and then 4 backups per 150 people is what we would have to take out, I guess, if we want to totally shut down the Iranian leadership structure. Seems to be the case. Moving on, we also have this. Iranian officials say ballistic missile launchers have been positioned along Iran's western border and southern coast, officially placing U.S. bases and regional targets within range. So we'll read this final report here. Well, before we read that, let me just give my thoughts. What seems to be the case to me is that Iran is actually not even attempting at this point to stop the U.S. from bombing them. If Iran really did not want the U.S. to bomb them, they would agree to shut down their ballistic missile program, and to stop enriching uranium, because those are the 2 demands that the Trump administration has made. They're not doing that. And so it seems to me that the Iranian regime, they're not, at this point, they're just sort of preparing to get hit. They're kind of preparing to get hit. They're posturing up. They're building their leadership redundancy structure, 4 replacements per members of the senior leadership team. They're sort of pre-deploying their ballistic missile launchers. They are getting ready to weather a blow to get hit here. And then also, what happens after they get hit? They want to fire back. They're getting ready to take that hit, and then they want to fire back after that hit has already been delivered. Seems like that's where the Iranians stand right now. Now, a lot of people have been talking about, okay, if Trump bombs Iran here coming up, what is China going to say? What is Russia going to say about all of this? Well, we have a report as of this morning. Beijing and Moscow have tightened coordination with Tehran, Iran, yet neither shows appetite for direct military backing of Iran if Washington decides to carry out the strikes. China's priority is uninterrupted oil flows. Keep in mind, China benefits from this Iranian shadow fleet. China gets a lot of their energy, if I remember properly, in the ballpark of 15%, maybe 20% of Chinese energy comes from Iran through the Iranian shadow fleet. So this would be a big problem for China. Russia is wary of jeopardizing ties with President Trump. We know that Russia right now is trying to rebuild a relationship with Trump right now and the United States. We've seen that very publicly. Both China and Russia are signaling that they will not gamble on a war with Washington over Iran. So, seems to be the case at the moment is that China and Russia are not really particularly happy about this situation with Iran. They would prefer that the U.S. does not bomb Iran, but at the same time, they're not willing to do anything about it. They're not going to stop us. They're not going to get involved. At least that's what the early reports are suggesting. So, time will tell. Like we said right now, it's like, how much can we trust Washington, the Wall Street Journal? How much can we trust this news source or that news source or this leaker we were talking about? There's a reason why we have a term for this. It's called the fog of war. It's because you can kind of speculate. You can put together best guesses, but we don't know for a fact. So that's why we're going through all of this. We're getting points on the plot. Ladies and gentlemen, that is where things currently.
Watch party for that. Imam, New Yorkers. I think I might call it a night here, guys. I'm getting pretty worn out. But anyway, thank you everybody for stopping by and hanging out and watching. And yeah, we'll be on when I'm on next. All right. God bless and good night.